Okay, I literally just got an email about renewing that. Literally got an email about it. Xbox Game Pass Core 74 and Xbox Game Pass Console. Xbox will be shuttered. What is Xbox Game Pass Console? What? That's what
so that's the old. That was the old Game Pass. Okay. That was not Ultimate. Yeah, but it included day one games. You just didn't have online. So it was Game Pass without the online.
Okay. And then it has a new Xbox Game Pass standard tier launching in September.
So it replaced the console. Right. So it replaced the console, but it took away day one games. The console had day one games.
Right.
It just didn't have online. But if you didn't care for online, if you didn't care for multiplayer, and when you look at the games Microsoft's been putting on Game Pass, most of them weren't multiplayer centric games. Majority of them weren't. Most of them were single player, or at least had a single player component. So they took that away, so that way you don't have access. So for the new user, this is for a new user. So if you have Xbox console, you need to stay subscribed to that, because the people grandfathered in, they get to keep it. But all new users of Game Pass, that's not a choice anymore. You get really on console, you get three choices. Xbox console core. Let's look at console core, right? Console core, let's just scratch that off the list, right? Because console core is nothing but Xbox Live Gold. By them saying Game Pass core, it kind of confuses, as if you have something from Game Pass, but you really don't. You don't really have the Game Pass full feature set, right? So it just really doesn't really make sense, right? So really, when it comes to Game Pass and Xbox, right now as a new user, it comes down to two, and this is for the console. Game Pass Ultimate, which is $20 a month, or the new Game Pass Standard, which is $15 a month. All right. The Game Pass Ultimate is pretty much the whole kit and caboodle. Day one games, cloud gaming, and if you end up getting a PC or you have a PC, you could play those games also on PC. So pretty much what we know now of Ultimate, the whole kit and caboodle. The standard is where things change, because they took out Game Pass console, which was you had Game Pass, you got day one games, you just didn't have access to online.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a cheaper price, right? And you didn't have access to the PC thing. But for the people who only play on console and didn't really care about the multiplayer much, it was perfect for them. If you have that plan, you still keep it. But anyone jumping on to Xbox now, you screwed yourself. You don't got access to that. But what you do have is the new version, which is Xbox Game Pass Standard. And what that is you have access to all the Xbox back catalog and the games that's been out for a while, but you don't get day one games. And and it doesn't include cloud gaming. So pretty much it's PSN premium tier. It's the way PlayStation does theirs. You don't get day one games, but the premium tier, it's like PlayStation Premium. You get access to all the backlog games, games that's probably been out for over a year or so. You get access to online. There's just no day one games to it, right? And that's priced as $15.99 per month. And so how much is that in a year, right? So 15 times 12.
50 times 10 is
15 times 12. 50. So it's $180 a year. So you're paying $180 a year, right? So you pay $180 a year, but you don't get day one games, right? To get day one games, you have to pay $20 times 12, and that's $240. So everything went up to $240 a year on this mess. All right. And so
wait, let's go live. Let's break it down.
Oh, we're live. We're live now.
Oh, we're live now.
Oh yeah. We started. Dog, we in here. We in the fight. The war started, bro. Don't you hear? Don't you hear the bombs bursting?
I have not heard anything.
Yeah, we are live. Let me go into the group chat and be like, yo, who's rocking? Because I know you're here.
Everybody's podcasting right now about this.
So I'm saying, yeah. So, but yeah, me see. Okay. All right. So yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if the other guys show up. But what's up, chat? Welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. The only friend these YouTube streets, Puerto77. I would imagine there's a lot of impromptu podcasts signing up, right? Chat, let me know. Let me know if everybody now is live and online talking about this, right? And this was expected, right? Microsoft about to do the price hike for Game Pass and stuff like that. That was absolutely obvious, right? You know what? Since we already started, let's talk about this right now. Let's talk about the Game Pass price hike, right? Number one, this is not like a big shocker. All the subscription services are doing this. How many times have Disney Plus raised their price? How many times have Netflix raised their price? Look at Amazon. They completely changed their Prime Video, right? Like if you were a Prime Video customer as part of your Amazon subscription and all that stuff, you have movies free from commercials, and they decided to change it and add commercials. But if you still want to go back to watching Amazon Prime without commercials, you have to pay $3 extra a month. You see what I'm saying? So you have to pay extra to get back what you originally had in the first place, right? So all these services are increasing their money because these subscription services, they more often than not lose money. And price hikes and readjusting plans is one tactic, and a quick tactic on how to get this to profitability, right? The one thing to notice is when, generally speaking, Microsoft has not really pushed, Game Pass with all great content. And now that they finally are doing it, right? Once we saw their showcase, and now everybody's like, holy cow, look at all the shit they're about to push. Now they put the price bomb. You understand what I'm saying? Which makes you wonder, what the hell were you paying before? Because this is what you were really waiting for. You were waiting for the big guns. You were waiting for the big stuff, right? The showcase, everybody's making these huge lists like, wow, look at all the content we're about to get, finally. And Microsoft's like, yeah, but we're going to raise the price. So that way you can access all this stuff. So now you got to pay more to access all these games and stuff like that, right? Which is incredible stuff, Oh shit, yo, Tim. That can't be Tim. I don't believe it. Tim, dog. If that's really you, my brother, then hit me up in the DMs. I would love for you to come on and give your thoughts about this, because I know Tim. He warned us. You know what I'm saying? You know what? Tim still has friends with Microsoft. He did. No. Tim still. He said a lot of things was going to happen, and you haven't seen this. Yo, his thing became a war zone because he was. I saw that. His timeline became a war zone because when this whole thing started going with Microsoft third party, I guess he got his connections. He has his friends there, and he was telling community, this is gonna happen, price hike's gonna happen, blah blah blah. And they were telling him, you're not an insider, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just salty, you're just jumping the bandwagon. And so far, everything's been happening exactly the way he's been saying it, and that's why he's been upset. That's why he's been pissed off. Because he knows what's coming, and he got pissed off, right? That's what really pissed him off.
That dog only has 660 subs. So are you sure?
Okay. No. That's why I said hit me in the DMs in Twitter. Because what you gonna call it? Oh no! It says it's me. I'll come in. Oh, he's hitting me up on the DM. Okay. That is him. So hold on. Let me hold on. Let me do something real quick. Let me pull this over.
Go ahead. All right, so to the chat.
Give me a second. Give me a second. Hold on. Let me go ahead, Tim. Give me a second. What I'm going to do, I'm going to send you an invite to my Discord.
Phil Spencer with Hawk Tua on the Xbox community.
Hold on, give me a second. Copy. All right. For this back.
Oh my god.
Hold on, Tim. Give me a second. PSN.
Sweet baby ink.
Hey yo, Tim, I sent you an invite to my Discord. When you click the link, jump into where it says waiting room, and then I will pull you into the live on air and stuff, right? It is the real Tim Dog, because he just hit me up on Twitter. He hit up the DM. You understand what I'm saying? And this is going to be a first. Ladies and gentlemen, soon you're about to get Tim Dog. First time. Awesome. Hell must have froze over. This is when you know shit hit the fan. Tim Dog on 60 frames, no lag. And he's about to preach his truth. We're gonna let him rock. We're gonna let him rock. We're gonna let Tim Dog let him, because that's what we do on this podcast. We're gonna let him rock. Hey, if you're an Xbox fan, well, you're an Xbox fanboy, really, and you've been pissed off at Tim, you about to get this work, because we're gonna listen. We're gonna take off the safety, and we're just gonna let him fire. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff like that. Let me see. Hold on. Let me make sure he got the thing. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Mark this on your calendars. This is a historic event. Listen, let me tell y'all something though, right? Me and Tim known each other for a little while in this console war, but outside the console war, me and him are diehard Giants fans.
Yeah.
And we're diehard Knicks fans. So especially as Knicks fans, we've been suffering. We suffer every year together. There's like shared suffering. Yeah. Now he's a Mets fan, I'm a Yankees fan. That's where it separates. But when it comes to the Knicks, me and Tim feel it every year. We go through it.
Yes.
We're like, damn. Like this year, we were looking at each other like, fuck, we were almost there. Tim, you could feel it in our bones. Like if it wasn't for the injuries, it just felt like this was our championship team.
I know.
It just felt it, man. Like I could feel it. I'm like, why the fuck did these guys get hurt? Like if I felt that these guys were unstoppable in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh man. But hey, Tim, welcome. First appearance on 60 frames, no lag. I think it was a long time coming. Hey, thank you so much, everybody. You know what I'm saying? We got Tim here. And Tim, I appreciate you coming through. Thank you so much. I just want to give you your thoughts. First, let's talk about the Game Pass price hike, because you won the community, right? Lately, and I don't think you did it to piss them off, but I think you're trying to tell them things are different now. Like, it's happening. Like, the changes are happening. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. You're going to get a price hike. And this is going to happen. And sure, you were pissed off, right? Because, but first let's talk about the Game Pass price hike. And then let's go into, like, like I said, open forum, how you feel about this whole change in Microsoft. And we all get it, right? We understand it's a business. Yeah, no shit. We all know at the end of the day, business is business, right? But there is a little bit of, inform the consumer on what your intentions are. Don't just say one thing and then completely do another. We got it. If it's a business, then just say so. We got it. It is what it is. Right? So this price hike thing, Game Pass and all that stuff. You warned people. You said it was coming. You said, hey, don't expect to see these games at the same price. They're gonna give you good showings. I remember watching you on Twitter saying, telling people, yeah, you're getting all these games, but it's gonna come at a cost. They're just not gonna simply honor the loyalties you guys done over the last 7 years with Game Pass. It's just not gonna happen. You will pay the cost. What's your thought about this, Tim?
Well, first off, thank you for having me.
Oh man, brother, glad you're here. I'm getting
a little bit of a reverb. Is that on my end?
We sound good. You sound good with my ears. Hey, chat. How about him? Is he all right?
All right. Well, yeah. Let me jump in and jump out. I don't want to I heard everything.
Well, everybody else says it sounds good. So the chat says you're good. You sound good. The chat says you're good.
I want to say what's going on. I'll lower my thing maybe.
Okay.
First off, thank you for having me. Second off, you've always told me that they were going to go third party, and I remember you kind of did put that seed of doubt in my head. I'm going to be honest. You were the first one to really hit that you were hitting that drum, And at that time, I was a diehard. But I remember you telling me that stuff, and it was crazy because you kind of got me, questioning them. And listen, I knew E3 was going to be great, and I could have been a shill, but the stuff that I was hearing on the inside was not good. And I even hit up Phil, and his answer to me kind of like really showed me where it was going, or I knew, you said that gut. But I just came out with it because I figure, I'd rather be that way and be honest with the community than not. You know what I mean? I'd rather not just be a shill. But the things that you were saying were actually spot on. They are looking to go third party. They are looking to put their games on PlayStation. They haven't been at all straightforward with the fans. They've been all over the place. But as far as this thing goes, yeah, if they would have done the right thing, they would have never done this before the show because they knew that this would piss people off. But this was the plan all along. They were talking about Game Pass not coming, COD not going to Game Pass. That was definitely in discussion. I know that for a fact. Even though that they were laughing on stage and making jokes about it. But this was part of the Call of Duty fallout. Also, what's really telling is this. You explained it very well about how their grandfathered in and stuff like that. Um, uh, you know, they basically have made it very confusing, that standard tier, but they also took it away. And what that screams to me, guys, and they are not serious about the console. The last couple of days they've been screaming about no console. You can get a Fire Stick, and today's just another indication. I really don't think this is going to be. I don't think. I think it's going to be, if they have a next generation console, it's just going to be like a very niche item, maybe very expensive. They'll maybe have that handheld. But the truth of the matter is like, we used to always argue, but guys like you really, I guess, saw Xbox for what they were. They were, and I don't. At this point, I mean, I'm totally moved on. I don't find them to be at all sincere. I don't think that they can be trusted. Charging that much money, which is okay, I guess, for Ultimate, but to charge that much for a standard tier with no game day one is a shame, and it's going to cause mass confusion because somebody who's going to say, "Yeah, I have standard," but their grandfather did, and that person's going to tell their friend, "Oh yeah, I get Indiana Jones day one," and then that person who bought standard at GameStop or online doesn't get Indiana Jones. Guess what? There's going to be mass confusion. So, listen, they're not on a good path right now. I know that they had a tremendous show. They did, but I just feel that the fans that have come up with them are just going to just keep getting these type of days where when Starfield hits and stuff like that. So just like basically, it's not a good thing, and I'm just very down on them. But I have to give props to guys like yourself because you really did put it in my head like I maybe should be questioning them, and at that time I did, and you know what, I learned that it wasn't as glorious as I envisioned it to be. I kind of came to the truth about it, and I'm happy that I did because I feel it's more sincere to be that way than to just be somebody who gets all the accolades and is known as one of the biggest Xbox fans and gets put on a pedestal. Yeah, I could have done that, but I can't lie. I got to be honest, and I saw bullshit, and I called it.
Okay. So
Tim, can I ask you
go ahead,
something real
Craig.
fast?
Go ahead, Craig.
Tim, a shout out to you for being here, Tim. Hopefully you and your family are doing well. And as a Bengals fan, I understand what you Knicks fans are going through. We've had some success lately, but yeah. I want to ask you, do you think people just did not know the history of Microsoft and what they've been doing since the late 70s, early 80s? On as fact, they will turn on a dime to make a dime. I mean, that's just their history. That's the way they were built. Do you think that was it, or what do you think really happened? Do you think people were in like parasocial relationships? You saw it coming down the road and you got out of the way, like you said, or just were people, in your opinion, willfully ignorant? Hear me?
Tim, did you hear him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Uh-oh, he's
I
using
do think there is parasocial media that goes on with him. I can honestly tell you that I was part of that, you know.
okay.
And I've actually got people into it. Like there's people that are now that are big into it that I got into it, and that like whatever were taking shots at me and stuff like that. But
Oh,
yeah, there is something going on there. They stopped marketing on the level what Sony did in about 2016, and their idea was that they can get behind like people on YouTube and Twitter, and we could be like grassroots marketing, which let's be honest is awful. It's an awful strategy, and I think it's showing the way the console sold. Where Sony would come out with these blockbuster marketing things, and they'd be lauded, and rightfully so. And then Xbox would have nothing, and that was because there is some parasocial. I mean, listen, ever since I questioned Phil, we haven't talked at once, and he was a guy that I talked to pretty much every day or every weekend. We would play video games together and stuff like that. So it was clearly just because I was an Xbox fan. It wasn't because we really were friends. And I learned that lesson. I mean, I thought that maybe it blurred the lines. I would say with Aaron, he is sincere.
yeah.
So he's one of the guys I feel sincere, and he's caught in the middle of all this. So I kind of walk on eggshells with that because I actually like Aaron, and I know for a fact that he can't be happy with what's going on. But listen, he's an employee. I know there's Delilah too, awesome person, but she's caught in the middle. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me because I became friends and relationships with people that work there. There's people. Even I talk to a lot of them, employees now, that are not happy with what goes on. But I have to keep that on the DL for obvious reasons. But yeah, I think that there was a little bit of truth to it, and there still is, like the parasocial stuff. At one time I thought it was bullshit, but dealing with what I went through and how I was treated and how it all went back, 100%. It's basically, you're not getting paid, but you are in a way because you're getting perks, you're getting, exclusive dinners, you're getting sent out to LA, you're getting, planes. I've had planes offered to go to the E3s if I didn't go, and stuff like that. That all stopped once I started being critical and asked real questions. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a part of it. And people that are just basically saying everything's great and coming up with some narrative, they're getting flown out and they're getting treated, to those exclusive dinners and all that stuff that they do. But like I said, for me, I mean, I'm 48 years old. I'd rather be a man that speaks the truth than somebody that just like lies. Like I said, I could have lied and been a superstar at E3. Everyone, they would have put me up on the stage. They would have laughed. I would have been friends with everybody. I got to be honest, their plan is shit. They're going to get rid of consoles. And quite frankly, once I stopped hating on PlayStation and I was stopped being a stubborn idiot, which now I'm kind of being stubborn against them, I really learned that PlayStation, like, just playing the games for, like, even though I might not have played them as much as I should have, but you just know, like, playing them is just on a level above, man. Like Ghost of Tsushima, you could just tell. Like the Last of Us, which I did play, there's a reason why they have so many Game of the Year award winners, and how come their games get 90 and above. It's not some bullshit Xbox tax. It's just they're that good.
Okay.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That's a good question. So when we talked about, and what I mean by that is not just in public, when in DMs, because, we're in that little group DMs that we're in, we talk about that. The reason why I saw this is not really to chastise Microsoft or any stuff like that. But like we both know, in order to be successful in the console business, you have to actually sell the console, right? Because that's where the money comes. And we're not talking about the sell of the console itself, is what happens after. We started with 360, right? When Xbox 360 started selling more people were buying games, multi-plats was selling great, subscriptions, Xbox Live Gold was doing great, right? So you have to like create a certain level of fan base, market share within the construct of the market, right? To really benefit from it, right? But when I keep seeing Microsoft reporting negative 35%, negative 18%, quarter after quarter, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, how is nobody seeing that this is like, you can't, like, what games are you selling if you're admitting to people no one's buying our console? You know, like the console metrics, you know, and I'm thinking, listen, in the gaming market, you're going to be one or two people. Right. Number one is you're going to be the market provider, which is the console, which is possibly the hardest market to be in, because you see there's more failures than successes. That's why at least until now, we really only had three. You know, during the golden era with, Super Nintendo, we had a whole bunch. Remember TurboGrafx 16, Jaguar, 3DO, everybody tried.
Golden times.
It was a golden time. You had consoles everywhere. Everybody. I had a I had a TurboGrafx 16. It was amazing, right? I didn't have a 3DO because that was too expensive. That was way out of the budget. You had one? The games were like $200. I was like, my parents would have slapped the shit out of me if I would ask them that, right? But you had Jaguar, CDO, CDI. You had all these platforms because everybody was trying to buy in. But over time, the market decided that, hey, it's primarily Sega and Nintendo. And then all of a sudden, PlayStation said, you know what? We're going to come in. And then the market became Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation. Oh. And then Xbox introduced itself. Sega bowed out. And since 2001, it was primarily Microsoft, Nintendo, Sega. And that's actually been a consistent long relationship for like literally four generations. We have four generations of Microsoft, Nintendo, and PlayStation. That's the longest relationship. But now Microsoft has hit the point where the market is not for them, right? For whatever reason, and we could go back to what decisions they make. They put too much focus on Connect. They put too much focus on Game Pass before actually creating games. They put too much focus on PC before you're like, we're gonna put games on PC day one, and we're like, what games?
100.
Like, you didn't make games yet. Like, you want all these stuff everywhere, but you still haven't delivered on the, like you even said it. Sometimes things are simple, man. Just make the damn game. And everything will sort itself out, right? Because PlayStation made its mistakes. We saw we saw during PS4, what is it, Sparse? Remember that? The 3 years Sparse, Indies, Godzilla, all this stupid shit that, PlayStation was doing, right? PS3, Rumble's last gen. $600, buy 2 jobs. Hey, we cure cancer. You could install Linux. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Sony, right? But they recovered because they released games eventually. They ended up saying, hey, look at all these games. And then that fixes everything. Games will always fix a bad gen. Because everybody will forget the bullshit. You got, like, we seen Sony stumble, but once they release the games, everybody forgets the bullshit. Everybody forgets the hack. No one gives a fuck. No one gave a fuck that Sony launched that $600 PS3. No one cared that PlayStation was sparse the first 2 years of the PlayStation 4. Yeah. No one cared that Sony launched without Rumble because they replaced it with games. Once you release games, people will forgive you. I think they'll forgive any platform as long as you release banking games. If you do that, they'll forgive you.
To piggyback your point, and to be honest, like from a bird's eye view, from somebody who is on the other side of the fence, I really believe the difference between Sony and the reason why they've gotten themselves back up and done so well, and Xbox, why they really haven't, is because Sony got humbled, and they were humbled. As, they took it hard, and they looked in the mirror and said, we got to fix things. Where being, like I said, that bird's eye view with Xbox, they've never done that. They haven't done that since, I think, 2013. It's always been an excuse, or it's been a switch off to another, to the next best thing, and they never just said, hey, you know what, we suck. And I still don't think that they've done that. We have to fix it. So I do think that Sony being the ability to say, hey, we screwed up and actually knock themselves down a peg and work hard, I don't think Xbox has ever really even gotten to that point. It's always been something, or an excuse, or a different strategy. Like, how many different strategies have they had since 2013? Like, you've pointed them out, the PC, losing Connect, doing this, doing that. You know what I mean?
Remember, what was it? Uplay or whatever, one code. What was it? What was that? Oh yeah, UWP, right? And they advertise it as, oh, it's one code, so you're gonna get more PC games to Xbox. But what ended up really happening was Xbox games was going to PC. And I'm like, well, like, you know, I'm gonna be honest. You know when I really knew shit hit the fan? Not shit to hit the fan, but the moment I really knew something was really, really wrong in how Microsoft looked at Xbox was one of the Gamescom. When you know everybody was talking about where are the games, where are the first party, where's the exclusives, deals, whatever. And when Microsoft showed, what was it, Rome, like one of their Total War games or something, whatever, the strategy games, and it was a PC exclusive, and I'm like, hold up, the only exclusive Microsoft showed was a PC exclusive? Oh, these guys got no fucks. I'm like, these guys doesn't get, like, yo, and then on top of that, the next thing they did, Gear Tactics, right? All right, new IP based off Gears. They released it on PC first. I'm like, wait a minute, PC's getting timed exclusives now? And people were telling me, like, oh, it's because the keyboard mouse is still working on the controller. And in my head, okay, that makes sense. I could see why. They still have to work the controller configurations, right? But when the game launched, the PC gamers were playing on the controller saying, oh, the controller configuration is already there. And I'm like, okay, now I'm confused. So now Microsoft's making PC timed exclusives over their own console. What is going on here? Like, that didn't make sense. I'm like, oh, this shit. I'm like, yo, Microsoft gives no fucks now. Either they don't give no fuck or someone needs to be fired. Because if I was working at Microsoft, I would look at Phil, we making PC exclusives now? We what? If anything, it should be console exclusive for a little bit, then put it on PC. Like what? Like you should have done the opposite. Put it on console first, then throw it on PC if you're gonna do that. But don't throw it on PC first, because then you're gonna have the initial hardcore be like, wait a minute. If you're gonna put games on PC first, then why should I buy a console? Those are the first guys you're gonna lose. The guys who know this, the guys who've been with you all this time, they're gonna see the tea leaves and they'll be like, wait a minute. You put this game on PC first when you could have put on console at least day and date. Like you're gonna have people question you, right? You know. Let me ask you this. When Microsoft started pushing no console required in the beginning, you didn't see like, wait a minute, this is kind of like counterintuitive. Like you make a console, and I get it. The message is supposed to be for the audience that don't buy consoles, but there's a better way you can say it, right? Look at PlayStation at no point, and they have cloud, but they have no point said no console required. They're not saying anybody on that one. They won't even nothing. Even putting their games on PC, they're still not saying, hey, because we put games on PC. They have this, even if though it sounds delusional, but they believe that putting games later on could potentially mean you could come to console. Might be a delusional viewpoint, but at least they still thinking of the console, even if it's on a delusional aspect.
They're very console-esque. They're to be honest, their vision is what Xbox should want. Xbox fans should want Microsoft, and that's the thing. That's where the disconnect is. You have so many people making excuses. The reality is that they're trying to say, "Oh, consoles are going away." No, not really. PlayStation's selling like crazy. They're still selling they've raised the prices and they're selling more than they did in the PS4 era. So that's all bullshit, and I don't think that that's fair to PlayStation. First of all, like consoles are going to be here for a long time. When the Pro comes out, it's going to be a real hard time for Xbox fans because the console is going to be hot as fuck. I'm telling you right now. Excuse the language, but it's going to do well. And like I said that today on one of my tweets. Like if they see, I really think that they look at the console kind of like exclusives, like it's a bad word. Like why couldn't you just say, hey, be like you could totally do like an all in the family type thing where you market it, but you don't market it where one's going away. Like you could say, play on your console. Hey, play on a plane on your phone. Hey, play on a Fire Stick at your grandma's house or whatever. You know what I mean? They could have marketed it that different, but when they're marketing that, what that tells me is internally the screws are already moving, or they're going to the point where I honestly think if you're expecting a console next generation for Xbox, it's at critical stages at this moment. When they talk like that, that means, hey, third-party consoles, stuff like that, that all can be something that happens, and you no longer get an Xbox because they're blurring those lines. They're saying, hey, if you play PlayStation, as stupid as it is, if you play Starfield on PlayStation, you're actually playing Xbox. Now, me and you and the channel like laugh at that, but this is what they're telling themselves, and I think that's because, let's be honest, they deadlined in Europe. I mean, you're talking about like 9-1 in France.
Oh
And
wow!
they just deadlined in Europe.
By the way, that's Extreme's favorite country, France. Just to let you know.
Yes, no.
Those are his people. I learned recently. Those are his peoples.
Those are my favorites.
Those are his
They are
favorites.
so tight. They are so tight to my home country.
If it wasn't for the croissant and the French fries, they would be out of here.
Yeah, but they're dead in Europe, and they're getting outsold 2-1, 3-1 in MPD lands. Listen, they're not even beating the Switch. When Switch 2 comes out, they're still not going to beat Switch 1. I mean, this is the reality, and they don't have any. They don't have any bravado. They don't have any. They don't care about the console, and that's what everything is pointing toward. That's what today's Game Pass message is like. Why would you take that out of console? Why would you take that out of console tier? I mean, it's just like, and then have PC like the best place to play, free online, and you also get all the games day one, and it's $4 cheaper. What that's telling me is get yourself a PC. Don't get an Xbox. Build it yourself. We're moving away, and then that's the sad part of it. And as a once Xbox fan, that upsets me, and that should upset any Xbox fan. Do you really want to like be forced into PC or be forced into buying a Samsung Xbox when you could have Microsoft Xbox making their consoles like they have always have, and or having a Pro Xbox? Like, come on, let's be honest with each other. I don't think anybody wants that, and that's the future. And also, the future is their games are going to go on PlayStation more and more day one. But Starfield is coming. All those games are coming, and that's just the reality of it. They see how well Thieves did. You think Starfield is not going to do well? Of course, it's going to do well. And then Halo is going to come, and then it just, like I keep saying, the bleed out's going to just keep bleeding out. You're losing fans every day. You're going to be at a point where your whole entire base is niche, and that's when it's like, that's when they could either close it down or they could go full third party. I think they're going to always exist. I just don't think that they're definitely not going to exist like they did a year ago. I mean, they're not even talking about the console. They're talking they're championing need no Xbox. Like marketing 101. Don't say that stuff unless you're Stadia. And that even failed for them. But, Stadia had no console, but they have a console. So, again, Xbox doing stupid things like usual and just infuriating me. And, they're just going down a bad path, and they continue to go down that path.
Oh,
can I ask
Team Dog, I have a question.
Let's go Extreme. Okay.
Listen, how much blame falls on you and people like you? Because my issue or my thought is Phil Spencer is very impressionable. If you had gone back, let's say all the way back to like 2014, 2015, and instead of being a shield for Microsoft, you had actually challenged them, and the community had also challenged them, like actually be like, no, seriously, you guys are fucking this up. Do you think we will have a different result? Or do you think that Microsoft's strategy was set in stone, regardless of how the community reacted to it?
I think it would have worked stuff out. But the thing is that I don't know how long you've been around, but I've been around since like 2007 with this stuff. The community did step up on them, myself included, when I had a big fight with Phil in 2017. Was like, what are you doing with games? Are you going to do game creation? So there was that point where they did step up and they said, hey, they were going to do the game creation. But the thing is that their plan and Phil's plan completely fell straight on its face in 2022 when they had no games and they were supposed to have all these games and nothing came out. And so there were times where I was definitely not totally shilling. There were times where I really believed. I mean, I did believe for a long time they were on the right track. But, like, when you just do something, like, egregious, like, say, hey, I'm going to just, like, completely bow out and put my games on PlayStation, that's those are things that you just don't do. You know, if they hadn't done that, I might still be a fan of them. You know, I think that they had a great they show that they can do well in certain aspects, but they just can't execute it. So it's just been a matter of them not being able to execute it and ever getting that day. And quite frankly, it's just, you know, like I said, I was an Xbox fan from day one. You know, they've made a lot of mistakes, but I really kind of feel that they never really addressed things the way they should have, or they never stuck by things. I really believe they should have stuck by their guns this year and you know, ride it out instead of just like completely throwing their hands up and saying we're done. I think they did that prematurely, and a lot of it's been because of in 2017 when they canceled Scalebound and they cut marketing. Was those were short term solutions that long term hurt you, and this was a case this year. This whole thing with you know, the games on the PlayStation was caused because their margins were so bad. So Phil said, "Hey, let's have a short-term solution." But the thing is that we all know the long-term results and the you know, things that are going to happen because of the short-term solutions are going to possibly, you know, bury the brand. I mean, it's gotten that bad. So, you know, there's still people that believe in them. I just, quite frankly, I don't believe in them, and now I just kind of wait for them to kind of, you know, do what they did today. They just keep screwing up. They get some momentum, and then they get the hopes high, and then they don't. But you know, I remember specifically though in 2017 really standing up to them. Iran got unfollowed because he made a video about Call of Duty and not Call Crackdown 3, and there was a times where we really like were critical of them, and they did respond at the time. They got 4 studios, 5 studios the next year, and then they bought Bethesda. But you know, the plan of Game Pass and all the stuff that they thought was the cloud, everything fell through and nothing performed. And you know, they're here now lying with that, you know, issue. And I still think that Game Pass in itself is not fully vetted. I mean, I still think that the games that cost to create the games are not going to be offset by the amount of people that they have in Game Pass. Like they were forecasting to have 50 million people in Game Pass. There's still 30 million, so they still have problems. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you say that you're talking to Phil almost every day, right? For most of this time. When Crackdown 3 happens, what were you telling Phil? You know, when Halo Infinite was first shown, what were you saying to him? Like, are you talking to him honestly, like, hey, that was a fucking pathetic showing?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to sugarcoat it? Like, what was the interaction like? Because from the outside in, and again, I don't know how you were individually, but as a community, everybody pretends that Xbox games were worthy of Game of the Year wins. You know, you hear in the Xbox stacks even nowadays.
I don't think anybody could really do that. Crackdown 3 was a 60. Listen, when Crackdown 3 came out and all that stuff, there were a lot of people, including myself, like saying, "What's going on here?" And you know, I mean, you have to be a certain type of respectful to an executive, or you know, they're not going to talk to you because they won't talk to you. If you're going to talk to them like, "Hey, you know, you suck," what do you think they're going to do? They're going to just not talk to you. I had built up a rapport with Phil where I was to the point where I was questioning him, and I did question him specifically on Crackdown 3. And I said, I remember him saying, "Well, why? I don't care about T-shirts and giving stuff. I care about my living room experience." And we had you know, basically saying that I want the Horizons for Xbox, and you know, basically he would shoot back, "Well, yeah, you know, we have things in the future." And at that time, the results that I did see in 2018, they signed 5 studios, and then they signed Bethesda. I mean, I think everyone at that point would think that they're doing great on the games front. Then they did the Bethesda roundtable, which I was also very critical and in his ear about being those games exclusive. That would have been something if that they hadn't done that roundtable and done that. I would have fucking when I would have definitely challenged them, and you know that for a fact because I've challenged them on their promise of Starfield and how it's going to go to PlayStation. That was always the thing with me. That was my line, and I told them that, and I stuck to my word because I know it's going there. So even though it hasn't been announced, it will be, and it will be on PlayStation. But there were times where I definitely questioned them 100%, and they were doing good by me for a while. Game Pass was great, but things dried up, and you know what I mean. It didn't work out the way I'm sure that they wanted. I don't think that they would think that they would lose Europe overnight. Six months ago, Europe fell off a cliff. They just stopped selling. So they had that, and they had other things, and then the ABK deal. Everyone thought that was going to be a certain way, and I remember going to dinners and them telling us what the whole Call of Duty deal was going to be. They had a whole plan about it, but that whole plan has completely changed because when the deal happened and the $70 billion deal, happened, that's when they really took a look at the book, and that's when they looked at Phil and they looked at everything, and they saw that they have somewhat of a money pit going on right now, and that's when the shit hit the fan, and that's when February happened, and that was it for me. You know what I mean? You can only.
So ultimately, you believe that it wasn't the community like encouraging Xbox down the wrong path. You think that regardless, they would have done what they did.
You could have said anything and you could have suggested, but listen, the community was telling them not to go with PlayStation and put their games, the 4 games, on the community.
I mean, no, but that's 2024. I'm saying all the way back. Let's talk 2017 to 2022. In those 5 years,
said what? Get us studios, and what did they do?
How many studios?
I guess they got you like indie and AA studios.
They got 30 studios. So I think that's a pretty big answer to that. So at that point, I got 30 studios, and I was asking for that. So as a community member, I was very happy, and I was sure saying it on Twitter. But what happened after that, and their vision hit the bed.
But why? Okay, so let's talk about the studios. Why get studios? Because in order to get games exclusive, you could have just made deals with those studios. You didn't need to acquire them.
I think that they wanted to have some type of, they had Game Pass, and their idea was pumping out like quality games and games.
Which quality games?
Well, I mean, they've had a rough go of it, but that was their ultimate vision. I mean, Bethesda, how could you say that? They were a great pickup, but Starfield was. Yeah, I think they were a good pickup.
Okay. Here's the thing with me. I feel like the community got a little black eye for the whole game. PlayStation is always getting, I guess, Game of the Year contenders, and then they thought that it was the studios that ultimately mattered. Because here's the thing, even if Microsoft were to acquire studios, my issue would have been they never made any studio better. So wanting them to get more studios without proof that they could actually improve those studios, I mean, that was always kind of a fool's errand, wasn't it? That's why I'm saying, why wouldn't you have said, hey, forget about acquisition, just get exclusive? Even if a game is only exclusive for a year, that makes a tremendous difference.
Here's the problem with that thinking. Look at their share. You think that a third party is going to want to put their games exclusively on Xbox?
Yes, because they have money.
No,
that's the entire point.
Listen, I don't think. I think that the reality is that they could have possibly done that, but the reality is that they would have paid 3 times the going rate because how popular PlayStation is and the position.
It's literally the superpower. Like I always find that weird coming from Xbox fans. Like, oh, Microsoft would have paid so much money, and I'm like, yeah, that's what they can do. That's the competitive advantage.
Well, they have
I don't understand.
They also have to get it certified. They also have to get Satya to sign off on it.
I mean, sure, get Satya. He signed off on a nearly $100 billion spend.
go your way to do that, though. What you're saying,
outside of
true.
GTA, there was no other game that was going to cost as much as what they did with the acquisitions.
I would say this though, if
It wouldn't matter.
But here's the thing: the cost is Tim Dog is right. The cost to get timed exclusive from third party, the marketing price would be a lot more simply because you don't have the user base, the market share to make it worth it.
Yep.
So from a third party perspective, if you want me to put your game not on PlayStation, you got to pay a cost, like, right? And if you bring it up to Satya, and if he tells you, why don't you just buy the whole cow and now we could do what the hell we want with it? Like, why are we gonna play? Like, why are we gonna constantly play like a 3 times markup game by game? And then they might tell you, no, you're not putting that on a Game Pass. Just buy the company. And then that's it. Like, and then let's say if it's like, let's say Starfield, right? And that was one of the catalysts. Phil did say one of the catalysts for Bethesda was because of Starfield. When they heard PlayStation was trying to go after Starfield, you saw PlayStation did it with Ghostwire Tokyo. They went after Deathloop. Microsoft said, you know what? We're not playing this game. We're just going to buy Bethesda, and we never have to worry about this nonsense of you trying to get a Bethesda game exclusive or time exclusive on PlayStation ever again. And now that we own Bethesda, we can put all this on Game Pass. And I think so to your credit, Extreme, they probably had those conversations. I doubt that they just made a decision and went with the first course of action. They probably thought, hey, what's the best strategy? Hey, strategy 1, timed exclusive. Strategy 2, some type of partnership where we'll get a studio and we'll create new IPs. Or strategy 3, buy the entire publisher, which is the fastest point to get games. And I think they chose strategy 3 because it is the fastest. We'll just buy the whole thing. It's kind of like, if you've seen Justice League, right? When Clark Kent's house was, his mom lost the house, and Bruce Wayne, he says, hey, how did you get the house? I bought the bank.
Yeah.
That's it. Bruce Wayne said, hey, don't worry about the house. How did you do it? I bought the bank. That's it. I didn't got to do all this bullshit.
I understand it from a business perspective, right? Yeah. But I don't understand it from the community's perspective. Like, I don't understand the celebration of it. Because Steve Dog keeps saying, like, when they bought all of these studios, I'm like,
trying to say the community, this and that. They only have so much say. You can make suggestions, but ultimately, Satya is going to sign off on it. But also another thing with the Xbox community, since like you like to talk about them, another thing that they wanted and that they got and they overshot themselves, in my opinion, myself included, was like the power thing. Like it was so like when they lost the power narrative in 2014 or 13, it was such a big thing to get power back and power and never lose that narrative. So that was a big ask from the community. Never make PlayStation more powerful. So they did that with Xbox Series One X, but then they also did it on paper with Xbox Series X. But as we know, and I think Digital Foundry just talked about it, Cerny had a kind of a clever, he's a smart guy, obviously brilliant. He bet on the clocks being faster and certain things other than going against what was the teraflop, what was the almighty. But it turned out that they were, they pretty much were equal, and sometimes PlayStation had better multiplats, and that was supposedly not supposed to happen. But on paper, I think even that caught Microsoft and their engineers by surprise, because when those games came out, they weren't up to stuff. But those were like the community asks at the time. You know what I mean? Like, I'd never had a power where I could say, hey, Phil, do this and do that. I mean, people would always say, can you ask Phil? The regardless thing is that they're going to do thing. And part of their problem with their power prodigium, or that word, I don't know, whatever, their power structure, was that the guy who's heading this, Satya, is as clueless as you can be on gaming. So that's another inherent problem that they have, is they have the guy that's opening the books to somebody that kind of was, in my opinion, taken for a little bit of a ride with Xbox Cloud and Xbox Game Pass, because I think that they thought that those were what the company itself wanted, because they were in cloud and they were in subscription. but it didn't pan out the way it supposedly, and that's why there was such upheaval this year. Is because when they did the books, they bought Call of Duty. They found out that like, wow, we're not making money, or there's something really bad, because supposedly Amy was like absolutely Amy was the CEO
Amy
of
Hood.
a CFO. She was
CFO.
completely crazy about the pricing, and there was talk, whether people want to believe it or not, that they were going to put Call of Duty not in Game Pass. That was one of the things that was talked about, but I think they've obviously got it with the new structure approved.
Let me ask you this, Tim Dog. Do you think, because I mentioned this in a podcast, right? There's an assumption, oh, we're going to buy this company, but obviously you don't have access to the full books, right? But do you think when Microsoft finally got access to the full books, did they not anticipate how much money Activision made off of PlayStation and sales? Like, holy shit. Like,
I think yes.
And same thing with Bethesda, even. Like, holy fuck. Like,
I think if
there's a lot of money coming from PlayStation. Like, and if we cut PlayStation off, how do we make this back? Like, you know what I'm saying? 100%. Like, do you think there was a realization? Like, wait a minute, we kind of screwed ourselves. Like,
yes,
we gotta make games for Playstation now. We just absorbed this obligation.
If they knew what they knew at the end going into it, they would have shuttered that deal. I don't think that they really are. You know, from what I heard, was one of the biggest questions is like, yeah, you bought a $70 billion company, but you don't know what to do with them.
That's $70 billion for a reason.
Exactly. So I think that they you know, it was a buy that they kind of, if they had their druthers, they would go back and not buy. And they, you know, they might run Xbox a little bit differently than they are now. But now that they had bought an Xbox, and they, you know, they're going to go with the third party, full party publisher route, which in my opinion, that's all Xbox will be in the next couple of years. It's just going to be you know, maybe one of the biggest publishers, if not the biggest publisher in the world. But yeah, I think. Listen, you talk about the community. Another thing the community was full on board was the Activision, and how did that blow up in everyone's face? So sometimes the community can be on board with something and think it's the solution, but they're not right themselves either. And I'll take full accountability on that. I was completely wrong on the Activision deal. Like, and I would fight with people regardless. But you know what? They should have never been able to buy them. In retrospect, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, because once that was bought, something shifted in Xbox. And I can always remember that person who said, "Tim, you might not like Xbox as much as you do when they buy Call of Duty and when they buy Activision." And that person, to you know, his word was 100% true. Because once they got that deal, they just would, even everyone acted differently once that deal you know, went through. You know what I mean? It was just shit hit the fan, like you said, Rock. I think that they realized, you know, they're probably just better off leaving them alone.
I would say. Go ahead, Jado.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, Phil did. You know, you saw from Satya and Phil. They said that buying ABK accelerated their plans that they already kind of had in play. Those plans would have took a lot of years to do that, but the ABK deal basically accelerated their plans. Right. And so a lot of the stuff that we're seeing now was already in the making. To bring in the games to PlayStation, Nintendo, it was already in the making. The fact that Rare had PS5 dev kits back in 2020, right before the consoles launched. You know, they had the frosted glass and stuff that they were bragging about. This shit didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't just a Phil decided or Satya decided to change their mind last minute. Some of these things were in place a long time ago, and I think now we're just starting to see not even the end of it, but it's probably the beginning of this stuff.
Beginning of the end.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the end. Now, here's the thing: it won't be the end for I'll say the Xbox name. Maybe they'll rebrand it as something else, but it's looking like it's the ending of the Xbox console, because they're focusing. They're having whole commercials and advertisement, not even mention the console at all.
I know.
Yeah, how do you not mention your core?
I have not seen a console commercial or other than like the tweet about the new Xbox 2 terabyte limited edition, but other than that, I don't see commercials. I already saw multiple commercials of Fire Stick. More to my surprise, I'm like, holy shit, they're really pumping the fuck out of this shit. Yes. Like this shit's everywhere now. This Fire Stick Gamepass, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
but to what Jay was saying though, I could tell you for a fact, when they there was a moment where Amy lost her cool, or she basically, lost her mind because of what they uncovered after the deal. So there was, you're right, Rock, there was that moment. And again, like I said, if they could, they'd rather have $70 billion. I mean, let's think about it. $70 billion.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of money, bro.
You could create maybe a few smaller studios.
Yeah, or you could have done what Extreme is saying. I mean, how much would have... Well, we said GTA 6 because that's always the game, but let's just play. I don't even think that. How much money would it cost to get GTA 6?
I mean, GTA is too big a thing, but I just think that you could have gotten
$500 million.
But I think they could have gotten maybe not timed exclusive, but they could have gotten the marketing deal, because at least just the name, just put the name on the box.
They don't believe in marketing. They believe in marketing on stupidity on
which is insane.
Community podcast, which I agree. I do think that there was a sensibility that the community and the power social relationship that you talked about, was something that was unique to Xbox because a lot of the executive talk, but. A lot of people said this to me, and I think you even said it to me. I'd rather just have my company do the right thing by the customers and not say anything than to just cause what they seemingly have caused or have on their hands, because it does, it does lend itself to people questioning, and even the community having like a sense of that they matter, but like what they say matters. I mean, I think being through it, in the end, I think I learned in the end that we really didn't have. They're going to do regardless of what they were going to say. And I remember that because they once also, when they had me in, we went to E3 and they had Stallion, Danny, Southbound, a couple of other influencers, with Satya, and we sat down with Satya, and they asked us about Gears going to PC, and I had said, I was one of the people in the room that said, no, you shouldn't do it. And I remember Aaron coming across the room, but he said to me, but what if you get it free with your purchase of Xbox? And I remember that was like something. I said, oh, well, then that's different. But in the end, they've always, when their minds are made up, and this is something that I think that Sony has always been able to do, is to be able to pivot like they did in 2013 before E3, and Xbox didn't. Like, Xbox will make their mind up, and then they'll walk through the fire to make the bad decision, where they did that in E3, they did it with DRM and that show, when they should have never announced it. They should have just, they said stupid things like they could never did it, and then they turned it around 2 days later. But they've always done that. Like, when their minds are up, nothing's going to change them. And like, their minds are up right now. They're going to go multi-plat with PlayStation and Nintendo, and they're also, who knows? They might be out of the console. The console, as you know it, they might come out with some type of limited console that maybe me and Jay buy, or I don't even think I'd buy it, but it might be $1,000 PC console type thing with, who the hell knows, Steam on it. I don't know. Whatever the hell that they're barking, but it's not going to be something that is going to compete with PlayStation 6. And that's the thing. People say, oh, consoles are dead, consoles are going away. PlayStation 6 is going to be feasting next generation, in my opinion, because they're going to just be picking up all these people that were Xbox guys that wanted consoles. and don't have a console anymore that are being forced to be.
I just want to say, Tim, I'm a lot more optimistic about the console next generation than most, even Xbox fans are. I still think it is going to compete. I still think that the living room is too powerful a storefront in order to let it go. But I will say this, like the last anecdote you just gave fuels my suspicion, because you said that you guys were, you've been taken out by Xbox, I think, and then you guys were talking about, taking Gears to PC. What if that other guy, what if everybody had been like, no, this is a terrible fucking idea? Like, what if there was a united front at that meeting being like, you think this is going to go well? Oh, okay, but then, listen, at the same time, I think that the company shouldn't change its dime because 5 or 6 people say it. But then what if that was kind of like echoed by the entire community at large? I feel like Xbox does listen to its community, for better or worse. I feel like
if they really did listen to the community, why would they go through with the PlayStation games? I mean, like,
I think that the $70 billion that they spent forced their hand.
Yeah. Be honest, if PlayStation did that type of stuff, you would go crazy, right? You would be like, "This is total."
Oh, absolutely. But the thing is, if PlayStation tried to buy Activision, I wouldn't be supporting them. That's the thing, because I feel like post Activision, there really isn't any way to make it work financially unless you are going to do what they are doing now. So I think that would have been a different reaction from the PlayStation community, because a lot of people tried to start up the acquisition wars. If you remember, after Bethesda, people were now like, "Oh yeah, buy EA, buy Capcom, buy Square Enix." But there was a lot of pushback from within the PlayStation community, being like, "No, we don't want you to buy Square Enix. Like, if you buy Square Enix, what are you going to do with all those games that go to Nintendo exclusively? If you buy Square Enix, what are you going to do with all of the games that go to Xbox? If you buy Square Enix, what are you going to do with Strangers of Paradise and other, things like what came out recently, Foam Stars? Like, what are you going to do with all of those projects that Square Enix, for some reason, likes to, like, once in a while, they forget that they're, like, supposed to be quality, and they just put out whatever, and they hope it goes well. So I feel like there was more pushback against the idea, just the very notion of PlayStation buying a publisher for no other reason than to just start up an acquisition war than there was to something like an ABK, whereas a lot of people on the PlayStation side were saying like, hey, as soon as you do this, you are locking yourself into a certain path. And I feel like that's where Xbox is now. As far as the next generation, though, again, for me, I just feel like the living room is too important, because the living room is the only thing more. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that because you're making a very good point, do you think that they could even, like, I feel like it's at the point where it's like a boxer. You've been knocked down 8 times in the fight. You can't even, like, they can't even throw a punch anymore. It's the 10th round, or it's a 10-round fight. Like, do you really think that Xbox can ever get back in there? Like, I honestly, for the life of me, don't think that they can ever get back in this. Even if Sony screwed up, even if Sony had something that was crazy, I don't think that Xbox. It's just been years and years of domination. Let's be honest. It's been just constant winning.
Let me tell you the way I say it. Yeah, the most important storefront for any company is the mobile phone. Right? It is literally with a person all of the time, 24/7. Like, there's no better prime spot. And they let that go with Microsoft Windows Phone, which was stupid because they had a good product. They were starting to make headway. They should have stuck with it, but they let it go. For me, the next most important spot is the living room, because it is the only spot in the house that is seen by every guest that walks in, everybody that lives there. Even children that don't have mobile phones see a console. Right. So for me, it's too important a spot to lose, because after that, where else are you selling your product? On a PC, when most people can be using an Apple, an Android, or whatever. So I feel like they have no choice but to stay in the living room. I feel like it's not a choice. As a company, you've already made all these acquisitions. You know that the future is cloud. You know that whether that could be in 20, 30 years. I think it's further out than people imagine.
Agreed.
But when it does come, the people that were in the living room, they are the ones that are going to translate.
I'll be 90.
So I agree. Yeah. So I agree with Extreme saying that the living room is important, but I think you have to you have to think about how Microsoft looks at that living room now. They're not looking at it from the lens of being a market provider. They're looking at it from the lens, the way EA looks at it, the way Ubisoft looks at it. They're going to be in the living room, and they're going to be on the platform where the device is mostly in the living room, and that's Nintendo and PlayStation. You know, Microsoft, right? Because if you create, because like, remember, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, the hardest part of the gaming market is the marketplace. That's why generally you, like over the last 20 plus years, we only had 3 marketplace providers. Everybody else is a third party. Take-Two, EA, Ubisoft, Capcom. There's third party publishers everywhere to the wazoo. But when it came to this marketplace, it was the most difficult marketplace to sustain, you know, some type of success. Right now, when you look at it, right, if Microsoft was to give another hard go at the console market, what would they be able to do to truly compete with PlayStation? They already set the message. You don't even need a console. So they already screwed it up just by messaging alone. They're telling people you don't need a console. Then they're telling people we're going to put our games on PlayStation. All right. Yeah. So I don't need a console. You're putting your games on another console that's in the market. You're even promising more games on Nintendo. What is this next Xbox going to do that you already like? What's the new click? What's the new it right up? Right. Because you're advertising. You see, like what are they going to do to actually make the console relevant again?
I think they're going to do what Sony does with the Xperia phones. Like Sony still has Xperia phones, right? Like they sell terribly. They are actually great phones technology wise. Like they have like their own merits, but they are staying in the marketplace of phones on the off chance that they actually create something great, like something that actually resonates. And I feel like that's the position that they'll be backed into. They will have to stay in it until they strike lightning in the bottle again. And until they get that moment back again.
The problem is, though, you buy a phone for the phone. Yeah. Right? That's the business. You selling the phone for the business of the phone, right? Unless you're Apple. Because now you have iOS. You have an ecosystem. But Sony, they sell a phone. They make it for $50. They sell it for $300. That's the business. But when you make a console, you're not selling it because people are buying a console. You want market share. You want people to be in your market. But nobody, like hell, Europe don't even know who the hell you are. Japan, they're laughing at you. So really, Microsoft makes a console. It's really only one market they'll be making it for. Yeah. It's the US. They're not making it for anybody else because Europe already, from the get-go, they don't care about Xbox. They already said it's done. We're not buying it. Japan, they can't even spell Xbox at this point. They don't even know how the letters combine. So if you do invest in a console, you're really only doing it for one region, North America. That's it. That like and you know, and the only way you're gonna be able to dominate North America is if Sony completely screws it up. So 2 things have to happen. You have to create a product that's really, really great in America, and Sony has to create a product that's really, really bad. Then you have a chance to dominate America again. But if Sony just comes out with something average, they just need to be average. Hey, we made a good console with good games. All right, I'm buying it. It's that easy for PlayStation. PlayStation, all they got to do is just not do something stupid. Don't release a $200 product. Don't try to sell it as a car. Don't make an all-electric car and call it a PlayStation. Don't do that. Don't do nothing stupid. Just create a console that's generally good, has all the games, and people will buy it. Don't do nothing egregious and weird. Like, hey, you know, we're not making a console. We're making a car, but the car you could play as a console. What? No. I'm 14 years old. I don't even got a driver's license. What are you doing, Sony? Don't do nothing weird. Just don't do nothing weird. And that's what the challenge is. I think Microsoft realized, and we got to look at it this way. It's not like Microsoft Xbox is a baby in the gaming. It's not. Xbox has been out there for 4 generations. 4 now. This is the 4th generation, and legitimately only had one successful console generation, which was a 360. In my opinion, you know, you asked Tim generally, you know, if there could have been more influence. I don't think any of us have truly a deep influence, even on the PlayStation side, because none of us asked for live service games. I don't give a shit how many people play Call of Duty. I guarantee nobody last year was saying, God, I mean, you had, you know, maybe broken games, but in mass, nobody was jumping up and down saying, oh my God, we need more live service games. Everybody was fine relying on third party. Play your Call of Duty, play your Fortnite, multiplayer Madden. Sony just gives us a single player because the third party wasn't delivering that. The third party wasn't giving us these big, single player type games that we wanted. Everybody else was just trying to do multiplayer. So fine, third party, try to make your quick money, make your reoccurring revenue, go make your Anthems, go make your flops, go make your Avengers. You guys do your trials and tribulations. If you guys success, good for you. For every Destiny, you'll get an Anthem, right? For every Warframe, you'll get a Suicide Squad, right? For every other bullshit like, Foam Stars, you'll get a Fortnite. Cool. Let third party screw themselves up. But the first party, just keep them consistent hits, them consistent Game of the Years. Let's see Sony's name as a Game of the Year award, all that stuff. Keep making them bangers, and we will find. No one in PlayStation really asked for them to get into first party. Live service. They did that on their own because they saw the money. So we had no influence in that. We didn't ask for them to do that shit. That they came up with that on our own. Now if it bites, it bites. But let's not pretend we pressured Sony and boxed them into this live service game. We didn't. No one gave them that pressure. They did that all to themselves. No one asked. This is definitely it. No one asked Factions to be a live service game. At best, why didn't you just make it multiplayer with part 2? That's all we really wanted.
That's what
just
we wanted.
You see what I'm saying? So sometimes they make these decisions because they see the money, whatever. So I say for the same thing with Xbox. Xbox, to be honest, they didn't need advice from anybody because the truth is Xbox had the playbook. They could have said, okay, this connection didn't work, so what do? We're just going to repeat what Peter Moore did because clearly it worked. That's all they had to do. You know what? 100%. We're going back to the old playbook. Fuck it. This connection didn't work. TV didn't work. We're just gonna do hey, Phil Spencer, get a tattoo. You're going on stage. Show him your next Halo tattoo. Fucking go get 2 DLC from Grand Theft Auto 5 or whatever. Yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2's coming out. Hey, we want 2 exclusive DLCs. We're just gonna do the same exact thing Peter Moore did. Same exact thing. We're not even gonna reinvent the wheel.
Larger share at the time.
They didn't need advice.
Now they have no share now. I remember somebody I was at E3 and they were talking about the share. And this was like 2019 or 2018. They lost a big share from 2013 to 2018. Obviously it still went down, but when 2012 they had a really sizable share where like you're saying if they kept to that playbook they could have done it, but now it's become so increasingly hard to do something like that because they just don't have the numbers. Like it's really like say what are they overall, like a 14? They probably at one time like a 27 overall share or a 26. They're like 13 now. They're not. I mean, the UK they used to be a strong front. They're not getting sold 4-1. It's like crazy. It's I'm not even. We're not lying about the numbers. We just. I mean, I think you and other people started talking about it, but I remember like 6 months ago, or around November, like right after Starfield, it just seemed like everything just dropped. Like for Xbox, it just they had a $350 console
and still coming with MPD.
It wasn't even selling it out. Yeah,
no, that shit was crazy. I'm like when I saw
Xbox One was more of a competitor than Series was by a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I saw, granted it was the military exchange, and I made a troll video, but before I made the video, I was kind of shocked. They had a whole bunch of $350 Xbox Ones with the Diablo 4 bundle. $350 with a Diablo 4, and it was full, but the PlayStation shelf was empty, and I'm like, yo, this can't be real, especially it's tax free. So $350 tax free with Diablo 4.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, I gotta do a video. Let me piss off some people, right? It's good engagement. It's a little shit talking, but I was honestly like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. It's the holidays. Yeah. It's $350 tax free. Comes with Diablo 4. And you can't sell this thing? Oh Scary. Shit. This shit was crazy. I was like, this friend's in trouble.
I have a final question for Team Dog. Now that you know what you know now, if you want to go back, what do you wish they would have done? Not what you would tell them, but what do you wish they had done?
Going back,
let's say you go back to 2016. right
I
before
wish
the
they never
Bible
did the
Studios.
PC. I wish they never. I wish they never did the PC. I wish they kind of prioritized the console. I wish they did stuff like you said, maybe exclusive games. Because they never had studios. Maybe build out studios, a different way. But if they had done the third party exclusive deals and did what they did with the 360 for a stopgap, basically just I think they just got too ahead of themselves, and I think that they had to match themselves with what Microsoft was doing, and they're two differently vast things. I mean, the cloud is obviously it's somewhat involved, but what Xbox needed to do was, basically put money, a lot of marketing. I wish they had marketed it. I wish they never cut the marketing to COD. I think those things really short-term solutions made long-term problems, and we're right now at the I mean, we're talking about care, and it looks dire. It really does. I mean, but yeah, I wish they had just kind of went on that 360 ride. I wish they never included Connect. I remember watching that E3, and I remember when Jack Trenton came up, and I remember where I was. It was just like one of those moments. I said, they got it. I remember the rare. I remember the roar of that crowd, and I was just like, they got it. I said, Xbox is in trouble. And from that day on, the momentum of Xbox, they would have ups and downs, but they never had that moment. They never had that game of the year. They never had that real defining moment. That Sony guys, like Sony fans, have had numerous of them. Whether it be like game of the years or best-selling console, selling 50 million consoles in a crazy amount of time. PlayStation 4 overtaking Xbox in its own home country, like in the first 6 months. It was just. It's just been like looking back, just it was a series of losing, or just like not getting this, like not being on the same level. And like I said, I think all of this has compounded to the point where they're even questioning now the living room, like we've talked about. Like I hope you're right, Extreme, and they kind of do something, but I don't honestly ever. I'm kind of done with Xbox. I mean, I talked to like Jazz and stuff like that. You'll be here next year. I knew that day in February I was done. Like people like, oh no, he'll be back the next week. You guys, like, people don't know me. Once I'm set with something. I'm set with something. I'm kind of like.
I would say something. I didn't know because you said it about. I wanted to talk about it. You said it like 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago. But when you say you actually sat down face to face, right, at the dinner table or lunch, and they actually talked to you about their plans, to me, that's different than talking to people online. Or like if you break bread with somebody, right? Let's say, for example, there's stuff like between me, J-Dub, Extreme, we talk online, we talk right now on chat. But if we all met face to face, right? And I tell you something, and I don't keep my word, to me that's different, because you're breaking bread with somebody. You're meeting the person face to face. This is where you cut all the bullshit, right? And you be honest, because you're talking to a person eye to eye. You're looking them in the eye. So the fact that you said that you actually talked to Phil and them, and they stared you in the eye and said, hey, we're doing this, and they didn't do it, that's a whole different... It's one thing like, oh yeah, online, here's a DM, yeah, sure, all right, got it. But... if you sit down, you're willing to talk to a person on a first name basis, right? And you're willing to break bread, you have a meal. To me, that's a whole different environment now. Now you're just adults, grown people sitting at the table having a conversation, and you're staring at my face with lies. You're like, whoa, hold up. I would take that personal too. I'd be like, what the fuck?
I didn't take anything that personal, because there was that particular that dinner we had. There was Cognito was there. It was a bunch of influencers in New York, and there were things said that were supposedly off the record. I mean, I've come out and said some of the things now, that I would talk about.
He said, you know what? F off the record. I'm laying it all out. Now, please.
Like, the thing that annoyed me was, like, I just knew when that PlayStation, like, they leaked it, and that's what really annoyed me. Was it's like, why leak something like that that's gonna just make people crazy? And then they leaked it, and I knew it was real. And
so hold on. So Microsoft purposely like dripped it out to see the reaction. Like this was their thing?
Well, they leaked it out to Shinobi, and he was the first.
So it wasn't like accidentally. This was like planned. This was like, all right, let's feel this out.
There was a whole behind that. There was a whole bunch of effery that went on. Like basically, supposedly the leaker was an employee that didn't want them to go through with it and wanted to have everyone go crazy. Yeah, it was really pretty crazy. And I remember at the time, I remember driving, I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, if they do the Starfield thing and they do this, I'm done. And I remember it was like that night I got a call from one of the Iron Lords, and they're like, bro, we just talked to the guy who's leaking everything. He's saying Starfield and Indiana Jones are gone. And then the next morning, Tom Warren made his article, and Reset Era put out their article.
And it started compounding.
So it was like a strategic leak. Like, that's what really annoyed me with the whole thing. It's like, you don't leak stuff like that. And you know what? If you're going to leak stuff like that, and I knew Phil knew about it, I just feel like that's like, really grimy. And I sent that email to Phil, kind of like I knew he was not gonna. I knew he would. Like, I knew my reaction would tell me something. News. And when I got my response, I'm like, these motherfuckers. I remember saying, I said, this motherfucker's gonna go ahead with this. And sure enough, it did go through. And they were swarmy with the podcast. Like, I felt like I watched that. And people that I really liked and admired, like, I look at them now and I listen to them talk, and like even watch the E3 where like Phil took a shot at like people like me and Tom. Like, they said they wouldn't put it in Call Pass. Remember that? He's screaming at the panel, whatever. Like, like there's things that Phil, like, there are things that Phil that are he's all about the console wars. Like, that's the type of thing. Like, he acted like he was above it, and he would come publicly about it. That guy was. How could you be friends with me and not be about the console wars? It was the truth of the matter was he fed into it. It's just that he couldn't deliver on the win. You know what I mean? But he was all about console
wars. Is good advertisement. As much as people hate it, everybody knows about it. If you're a gamer and gaming, what's the breaking news?
Yeah.
Hey, Sony just bought Power World. The Power World Entertainment Company.
Did they really?
Shut the fuck up.
They literally just did. Literally, I just posted in our DM. Yeah.
You're instigating J-Dub. No, they didn't. Come on.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Hold on.
They did. Yeah. Go check it.
I remember I got made fun of because they said Xbox Power World.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Nah,
hold on. You want me to post it in Discord or?
Let me read. I'm reading it right now. Let me read. It says Sony Music Entertainment Japan, Aniplex, and Pocket Pair jointly established Power World Entertainment. Sony Music Entertainment Japan subsidiary Aniplex and Power World developer Pocket Pair have announced the establishment of Power World Entertainment, a joint venture that will be responsible for developing the reach of the intellectual property and for expanding commercial business endeavors, including global licensing and merchandising activities associated with Power World. But this is outside the game, though.
Yeah,
this has nothing to do with the game. It's merchandising.
Okay, I read this paragraph.
Yeah, so Sony Music Entertainment Japan headquarters, Tokyo President, and subsidiary Aniplex Group, blah blah blah, have established a joint venture hereinafter as JV Power Entertainment Corp to expand and develop new business associated with the hit game Power World. The announcement was made today in joint release of all three companies. Yeah, this is just so they made a deal to do the merchandise and stuff, but this isn't the game.
Why don't they have a game on the console?
It will. So that's Sony's fault, because Sony has a thing with like what's it called when you don't fully release the game but you still release it? Early access.
Early access.
Yeah, Sony's terrible early. They don't like early access for whatever reason. They don't want to do that. So that's why. So Power World has to. So when they officially launch Power World, then it'll be on PlayStation. It's kind of like, what was it? What was the original Battle Royale game? Not Fortnite, but
Survival Arc.
Yeah, PUBG.
Arc.
PUBG. While it was early access, you couldn't play it on PlayStation.
And
but once they announced, but once they announced the release, then it's on PlayStation. Yeah,
the Xbox was so desperate that they were destitute that they acted. I remember I was pissed off about that.
You know,
like they acted like that was exclusive, but it was same thing with Power World's coming.
Yeah, but same
I mean,
thing.
to talk on Sony, I mean, I'm really excited to be. They're gonna have like a lot of people are taking shots at them now. I've seen Colin Moriarty. Listen, I think that they're gonna have a show in September, and I really do think that they're gonna.
Well, they have Tokyo Game Show, so but let me ask you.
Well,
let me go super chat.
They're gonna announce Pro. That's coming.
So let me do the super chat because one of them is for you, Tim Dog. But first, let me do Knights of the Realm. He says, "Here we go with the Sony ponies. Deep down, you guys love Xbox." He put no space between the words. He wanted to save on those $2. Shout out to you, Knights. But we got Curietti6. He says, Tim, do you think any of Phil's moves make sense as head of MS Gaming instead of head of Xbox? It feels like he doesn't care where you buy an MS game.
I think that you're right, and I think that that's a problem. I think right now Phil's just trying to figure out a narrative that can, prolong his job. I mean, it's at that point. I think right now, exclusive and consoles are the bad words at Microsoft, and that's just really it's an excuse because the cloud failed, or it wasn't what it's supposed to be. Let's be honest, and it's hit compared to NVIDIA. I would think, going into that, I thought that Microsoft would have easily the best cloud service. It's not even close. NVIDIA is 10 times better. And then the Game Pass. Like, Game Pass was so bad that they had to take out the threshold of what is supposed to hit on Satya's bonus because it was supposed to be at like 50 million. I don't think Game Pass is as good as it is. I don't think it's where they need it to be, and that's a big problem. So, I just think that they're just right now the bad word is exclusives and console. For some reason, the console is now the bad guy because they didn't actively sell it correctly, and they didn't have games for it. 2022 was, I think, the last straw for a lot of fans that were promised a lot and gave them a second chance or a third chance, and 2022 came on and they had 0 exclusives. It really hurt them.
Okay. So I think, we could agree one thing, that PlayStation, Xbox, at a certain point, they did the same mistake, right? When they achieved a sort of success, they thought, hey, what can we do more beyond gaming, right? Sony tried to do it with the PlayStation 3, right? With Blu-ray, all this other shit, right? Cell processor, they try to push that as a Trojan horse to tell the people, oh, look, a cell processor is great, whatever, and all this stuff. On the Xbox side, with Xbox One, Connect, TV, all this other shit, right? But I think where the fine line between the two, when they both realized they made a mistake, PlayStation said, you know what, just go back to games. Just make games. Yeah. Just make games. Try to make the console cheap as possible and just make games. Microsoft, instead of going back to, all right, let's just make games. Just make a lot of games and then we'll figure out whatever. They say, you know what? Let's work on Game Pass. Let's work on PC. Let's work on UWP. And like, I will say this, and I still feel this way for the PlayStation. I get it. The whole, companies want to make more money and PC's a great place to make more money. I get it. Like I said, from the business side, I get it. But from the console owner side, any effort to do something on PC does not result in more games. It just results on games going to PC. But the console doesn't get any benefit. Like when Sony bought Nix's, Sony didn't get a benefit. Like PlayStation console gamers don't benefit from Nix's. Like the Nix's purchase does nothing for us as a console. You bought a whole developer studio that doesn't do anything for PlayStation console gamers. They're designed to support PC gamers, right? So you pay money to put games on PC, right? So anytime you do these moves to put to cater to the play, even like rumors of PC launcher and all this stuff, that's money investing to PC gamers. Us console gamers don't get nothing out of that. Like all that money you're spending, We don't see no fruits of the labor. That's just, whatever. So I always see that as a little kind of like a slippery slope where you invest money, but you don't actually get more console games. You just get, sure, from a business perspective, you're expanding PlayStation, you're making more money. But guess what? A lot of people think, well, by making more money, you get more games. No, that's not how business works. By making more money, you make more profit that you get to keep. Like, that's how business works. If shareholders are looking to make more money, it's not because, hey, let's make more money and take all that extra money, put it back into the games. No. The budget for the games is going to remain the same. Any extra money stays in their pocket. Maybe for future investments in another share or another strategy. But make no mistake, when shareholders of business want to make more money, it's because they want to keep more money. They want more money for themselves. They want bigger bonuses and stuff like that. The budget for the games are locked. It is what it is. It's just staying that way and stuff like that, right? So when I see all these PC moves, I get it from a business standpoint. I get it. They want to make more return on investments. I get all that. But guess what? We don't get more games. We don't get more games for PC strategy. It's just how it is. The more they hire more studios to build, more PC games, that's just money going towards the games going to PC. We're not going to see anything out of that. And the more money they make on PC, we most likely won't see anything out of that either, right? Maybe a game might survive, right? If it's successful like on PC and console, okay, sure. We'll get a sequel, that survives another day, right? But when I saw Microsoft right off the riff talking about PC UWP, but I'm not seeing you guys talking about making new IPs and shit. Like, you're not talking about games. You're talking about all this stuff. You're talking about cloud, right? Like, especially Microsoft, they talk about cloud way too early. They push cloud way too hard for no reason at all, because the world wasn't ready. And it ain't even about being ready. I think most don't really give a shit. But they pushed that shit hard for no reason.
I can tell you why they did that. Well, the reason why they did that was because 2017 was a critical time for Xbox, and one of the things was that Satya wanted a full-on plan, and Phil had to come up with two things. He came up with Game Pass, and he also came up with Xbox Cloud Gaming. And the reason why he did it was because cloud obviously fits into the company model of cloud, obviously
Azure, all that stuff.
Azure, and then the model subscription with Game Pass. So the reason why it was pushed as hard as it was, even when it wasn't even ready, was because I think Phil was really, and I have to say, if I'll give him some credit, there was a legitimate time where Xbox was considered, to be, never make another console and maybe really step back, and they don't want Xbox to be a blemish on Microsoft as a whole, because the rest of the company is 40% margin difference, and they're making 40% margins, and Xbox is like whatever, nothing close. So there was times, and then that's why that was pushed. It legitimately was a big push internally from Xbox, and people like he left Kareem, who, when he left, nobody, if you notice, nobody said anything. That didn't go well, supposedly. But that was why it was like Xbox trying to put they've always been guilty of this. They put the cart before the horse, and that's why, And they also had Mixer. Remember that? That was another failed thing.
Mixer.
What happened?
Remember Mixer?
Oh, Mixer. That was another one.
The Mixer.
Yeah. Oh, so the bad news keeps hitting. So you know how Microsoft has, they shutting down the Game Pass console, right? But if you already have console, they say you're good, it's yours. But there's a caveat. So it says right here, from September 12, 2024, Microsoft will only allow users to stack Xbox Game Pass for console users for up to 13 months using prepaid cards and the like, which will continue to function. If you have more than 13 months stacked already, you won't be impacted. But what that means is they're capping the console. Console's going away. So if let's say you already stacked it to 36 months, you're good, but you're not going to be able to stack no more than 36 months. So that means, let's say if you have console prepaid for 36 months, it's going to expire in 3 years.
If you
didn't renew console yet, you could still renew it, but they're only gonna allow you to renew it up to 13 months. So console, you guys are on a time limit. So whatever you have right now is what you have, but eventually it's gonna be Game Pass Ultimate and Game Pass Standard. You're not gonna have console. There's gonna be in a few years, Xbox console is not gonna exist anymore. So they found a way. So they found a way to shut it down.
Like that.
They found a way to shut it down. They found a way to get rid of it completely. Even if you were grandfathered in, time's ticking.
So I have a question. I don't know how much you guys actually talked about. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, and by the way, they stated in there that everybody's subscription is going to be set to auto renewal.
I mean, but they could go back and take it off, right?
Yeah, but they specifically stated that.
Oh, so if you didn't, so
auto renewal.
So they raise the price. So they raise the price and they put auto renewal. And if you don't if you didn't read the news and ignore all this,
exactly, they get you.
Oh shit!
So that way, once you change it, you're no longer grandfathered. That means you're stuck. You gotta go for the full Monty. That's basically what they want. They want to push people off of.
My thing is, this is all very nice, and the price changes and everything, but now they have 3 tiers now that are going to introduce from September 12th, right? And only one of them is going to include day one games, because it's only Game Pass Ultimate that will get day one games.
Yes, Game Pass Ultimate. So technically, Game Pass Ultimate, you got Game Pass Standard, which does include day one game, and then the Game Pass Core. That's just Xbox Live Gold. They just renamed it.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
really. It's not even really Game Pass. But it's not Game Pass.
Isn't that a betrayal of what they promised? Because you can't say that games come to Game Pass day and date if 2 out of the 3 don't offer you that Game Pass day and date. Like, why did you call it? Why'd you call it Game Pass?
I don't know.
I feel like people will excuse Core, right?
I know.
But if 2 out of your 3 tiers don't. So this is what I mean by, I don't know. I feel like people should be more outraged about that than even the price hike. Because as a Game Pass subscriber, you promised me a Game Pass day and date. You've been saying it for years and years and years. And now it is only relegated to the highest tier. That's not exactly the same. When they came out and they said, Call of Duty will be coming to Game Pass day and date, that's a big asterisk to that. Anyways, that was just my.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. That was just my point, because I'm like, that's more upsetting than raising the prices.
But that's just the business of subscriptions, man. Like, I mean, let's be honest. There's just no way you're gonna be able to make AAA games and give it away for $15 a month. That's just not a thing. That's just not a thing. Like, people, that was a pipe dream. Where, like, it's bad enough that even at $70, companies are still complaining that is not enough. And that's $70. Imagine 15 with 50, 60 games in the library, 300 games in the library. Like, so like, and it's going to keep happening because we see it with Amazon. We see it with Disney Plus. How many times had Netflix raised the price? How many times they switch models? Netflix, now has a ad-free tier, whatever. If you're on Amazon Prime, you got to pay $3 extra just so that way you don't see commercials.
They are the worst ones.
It's egregious. They are all egregious, right? So what ended up something like, back in 2007, 2008, 2009, when Netflix started rising up, people saw that as a great value. Like, wow, I no longer need cable. I can get all these shows for a great low price. Now this shit got out of hand. I'd rather have cable. Because at least it was everything under one fucking monthly plan. Now we're paying more, right? And if you try to conserve, if you try to say, you know what, I'm gonna unsubscribe from this, unsubscribe from that, I'm only gonna have this, you only gain access to certain content, while other content you don't have access no more and shit like that, right? And it's like, fuck. It's just all this whole subscription. It's like a blessing and a curse at the same time. It was a blessing in its early stages, and now it's just out of hand. Now it's like for me, like some things like MGM Plus, I didn't subscribe. I'm like, there's just some things I'm not subscribing. I didn't subscribe to Paramount Plus. I just got tired. I don't care what's on those things. I'm not doing it. It's just when does it stop? Like every other day, it's a new streaming shit that has an exclusive, and it's fucking 18. It starts out at $5 a month. Then by the time it's $29.99 every 3 days. You're like, when does it end? So like, I don't even pay attention to like subscription. I'm stuck with what I'm stuck with, and that's it. I'm just staying there. And the only reason why I still have it is because my family. Like, my daughter watches a lot of stuff, and my wife, so they truly get to enjoy it. But if I was a single dude, I would have none of that. Because most of my time I spend playing games, and if I do want to watch something, I could just subscribe for it for a month, and binge watch the show and then unsubscribe. Because most of the time it's just one particular show or a few shows I watch, and then I don't see the damn thing ever again. It's mostly them that watches it. Me, I could go with, okay, the full season of House of Dragons is out, cool. I'll subscribe to Max for 1 month and watch every episode and then unsubscribe. Yeah. Good. Yeah. All episodes of The Boys came out, cool. Subscribe, watch it all, unsubscribe. I'm more than patient to do that. You know what I'm saying? But it's absolutely ridiculous and stuff like that.
I just wanna know why they ain't think about little Timmy.
Oh shit!
What about little Timmy? You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
every time PlayStation is think about the kids.
Now they bought ABK. Now they're worried about Tom. They're like, bro, it ain't about Timmy. We need Tom's money.
They say, fuck them kids.
And so. Hey, so I'm gonna jump ahead. So Tim, I'm gonna ask you your opinion, just to jump ahead on a topic. Sony TGS, right? They've been not doing that. Let's all be honest. They've been terrible with the showcases, right? They no longer support. I mean, E3 is already out the door, so I think Sony kind of predicted E3 was already out the door, right? They're not showing up at Gamescom. They haven't done this for like at least the last 4 years. 2019 is when 2019 was the last time they made their little roundabout of the major shows. But now they're gonna be at TGS. So what do you think about that? Like, what do you think about? Okay, wait a minute. Sony coming back to a major game show? Really?
I think, to be honest, I think they're going to go in TGS and they'll have some support there. But there's going to be a show for Pro, so I think that they're going to have an event. Quite frankly, because I do think that they now have gotten through a point where the time has went by, and now that they probably can show a Ghost of Tsushima, they just need to really show a couple of games, and the Pro can take the large portion of the attention, because you're gonna have to go through it. They're gonna talk about it. When they went through, I remember when Shani did PlayStation 4 in New York, how cool that was. So I think that they're going to have something like that. Maybe they'll do it in New York. That'd be really cool. But I think they're going to have something. I know that they've been very quiet, and I know that like a lot of people have gotten on them. But quite frankly, I think that what they're doing is working because they just keep selling and selling and selling. But I do think they do deserve it to the fans where they have to have a show. And I think I'm going to say that they're going to have a show in September. I'm going to predict that, and I think they're going to show off Pro, and I think Pro's shortly going to, they're not going to waste no time. So you're going to see Pro, and then you're going to be able to pre-order it, and then you're going to be able to own it in like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. So there'll be a turnaround. And I think it's going to be a really good time for Sony fans because they've waited a long time and they've been patient and they've seen the competition. Microsoft have these absolutely crazy shows. I mean, we can say what they want. They had an unbelievable show that, exclusives or third party, whatever you want to call it, but they had a good show. And I just think that I think Sony is going to do that. I don't think that they're completely getting out of that showcases and all that, like to just do state of plays. I don't see that. I do think for something like the Pro that they will have some type of event, or at least I hope so. If they don't, I'm going to be honest, that's kind of shitty. They should have something to get us excited about, even if it's like what they did with Charney in New York City on PlayStation 4, which was really cool. I mean, when they even did something for the Pro, if you remember. They had a show, but it was, I don't know who was House or somebody who was a different executive at the time. But yeah, I think that something's coming in September, and you're going to start to see. I think I saw one stat that 11 of 20 studios haven't shown what they're working on. So there are going to be some gas stuff which I know that you like we were talking earlier that we don't, a lot of people don't like. But they will have some of that. But they'll also, they're sitting on some games like Ghosts some
Wolverine.
Horizon stuff and stuff like that. You know that they're gonna have some stuff, and it's coming.
Let me ask you this. So let's say if TGS they decide to announce the Pro there, right? Obviously, there's gonna be hardcore PlayStation fans like the J Dubs. I'll be depending on how they really release it and what they do to make it worthwhile. But did you ever imagine that this gen, halfway and to finish off, PlayStation will still produce a new console, a mid-gen refresh, and then Microsoft would just say, "Nah, we're just not doing that. We'll let you have it, take it." Like they just completely we're not even gonna try.
No, I mean, I thought at the beginning, the Pro was not a great idea, but let's be honest. When Charlie cooks, he delivers, and he showed that with PlayStation 5. Like everyone was like, "Oh, you're making fun of him" and stuff like that, and then he's lauded for the reason. He's the best, or they say, for a reason. And man, the console sounds awesome. I mean, was it 33 teraflops?
J-Dub knows. J-Dub's loving it.
Yeah, he's got
36.5 full RDNA 6.
Just making up stuff.
GCN hybrid.
It's gonna, and who knows? It's probably going to be a different style, and it's going to probably have some tweaks to the controller, which. Coming from Xbox, the first thing I noticed was the controller. That controller is fucking amazing. I have it set up where even when you do menu changes and you just go right to left within the UI, it rumbles. And I just find that the controller, just the way it's utilized in the games, is fantastic. It really is a game changer. So I want to see what they have in store. And personally, I don't know. I don't know what market they're going to go for, but if it's a really expensive type thing, but it has everything that backs it up, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I'm currently considering buying a PC, but I'd rather buy. They had to make a console. I think it's going to be $600, but it was $649. I'd jump at that. You know what I mean? Especially what they're talking. I mean, the games will look very impressive too, especially their exclusives. It's like, imagine what freaking Naughty Dog's going to do with that. I mean, it's going to be insane.
Talking with Extreme. Go ahead, Jado.
I was just going to tell Tim, on this show, this maybe a month or so ago, I did bring up this idea, and it was far fetched, right? And I did tell Porter Rock, I was like, what if Sony's waiting for the PS5 Pro to announce their first party games, because they actually this time they really want to sell a lot of these Pro consoles versus the last one was like we'll just put it out there for those who want it. What if they really want to push this Pro to extend the generation, right? They want this generation to go not to 2028 but 2030. That way they can get money and stuff like that. The longer this generation lasts, the more money they make. And so this Pro, instead of it just being a little bit more, like Craig said, shout out to Craig, they may actually advertise this thing and actually market it and actually do something with it to get people to actually want to not only upgrade, but show it off with and what better way to show off your more powerful than Ghost of Tsushima 2, Wolverine, the new Naughty Dog, the new Guerrilla Games, the new Sucker Punch, the rest of the IPs that they have, studios and stuff like that. Sony Ben, what's the other studio? Bluepoint, right? All of those different studios. What better way to do that to get people to go and buy all in on that? That was just a wild theory of mine. And like the longer and longer it takes for them to do that, it's kind of seeming like that just may be their strategy. I don't know, but that would be, it'll be crazy. Just with me predicting that, I
didn't think it showed ghosts on it like that on the Pro.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna get real salty at that time. I think a lot of Xbox fans, they're not gonna admit it now, but they're gonna be like, especially when your company saying, fuck a console, and then you got Sony fucking coming out with the chariots and showing this fucking awesome console. I'm actually very excited about the Pro. I think it's going to be really good. Like I said, I have total newfound respect. I thought that like they would always make say Cherney's the man. He really is, man. Like I watched that Digital Foundry video and it made sense like why the games did perform better, and it was just because he was smarter to push the clocks up and have faster processing and that type of stuff. For most majority of the games, you're gonna win out, and that's pretty much. There was no mobile multi-plot advantage that Xbox thought that they had. They thought they thought they had it in the bag, and that was the tools stuff. Was actually what was told to us by Jason Ronald, and all those guys.
So he was the source of the tools. Hey, it's
tools,
the tools.
Yeah.
Did anybody ask him? Did anybody ask him? How did you not see this coming? Right? Because here's my question. Maybe you can answer this. So 2020 was a wild time with the whole RDNA 1.5, right? So from I would say starting around March of 2020, all the way up until before the consoles launch, there was, and you've seen the guys, right? They're going on Twitter. They're talking about, I talked to some devs and the power was staggering. Oh my God, the performance was crazy on Series X, but PS5 is okay. But now all of a sudden when the games launch, you have these problems. In my opinion, these problems don't happen from one day over the other. To me, the problems was there throughout the whole cycle. So how come nobody said it before the consoles were like, hey, there's going to be some issues, like the tools ain't ready. We're not getting what is being advertised. Like, how come people started saying it after the consoles launch and not before it? Because you can't tell me these issues wasn't happening before the consoles launch. Like, the issues with the tools, that was there the whole time. You understand what I'm saying?
No,
it didn't like the two issues didn't happen the day the console launched. Now all of a sudden it's the tools. No, the tools. These guys were having issues with the tools in April, in May, in June, July, August, September, and that's why the games launched that way, because they were having issues.
They also didn't think that Sony would come out ahead, and the thing I think even Digital Foundry was confused, and I think that it really what happened. And I remember being told, because I was one of the guys who was saying it was going to be more powerful. Like, Tim, what the fuck's going on? You got to get answers. And I basically talked to some people. I talked to Jason. I talked to even Phil. And I think Phil even mentioned it. He said, Sony has faster processing. The cores, the speed of the clock, which is, I think, 2.34 or whatever. And Xbox is at 1.81, whatever. That was one of the things that was talked about. And they mentioned that in the video on Digital Foundry. And also how Xbox is kind of like a DX12. It caters itself to PC, where Sony is it's its own thing. But the reality was, I think that caught everyone by surprise. Maybe not Sony, but it definitely caught Xbox, and that was kind of like the answer that we were given was the tools, and then we obviously related and we got made fun of. But because the reality was, it really wasn't the tools. Maybe it just the reality was that Cherney made a Ferrari that was faster off the line. Maybe it would lose in a longer length race, or But I mean, I'm not a developer, and I would go to people for answers, but. That was when that shit happened. Let me tell you, people were just they thought that. I think everyone, even Xbox, thought that it would be a pretty sizable advantage. You would see locked frames and them dropping frames, and they didn't. They were curious about the whole throttling. Remember the throttling of the clock?
Oh yeah, because there's overclocking and smart shift and all this weird stuff.
But let's be honest. Cherney's a fucking mastermind. He proved it. So now he proved it.
And he warned us. He even said, don't use T-flops as a metric.
You know, and that, remember, that was the standard.
That was a big thing.
Yeah, and then now you got this guy making a console where, you know, I think that and listen, he always stuck to. Charney said to PlayStation, stick to the 60 frames per second motto.
Yes,
where that was a brilliant move too. Every one of their games is 60 frames per second or has an option. Xbox comes out with Starfield, and they never talk about a 60 frames per second, even though they got it. But that's the difference. Like, Sony was so on top of it and knew the gamer and knew that 60 frames per second was something that was a make or break thing, and he made it. And guess what? Sony listened, and they did it. And what is it? 4 games or something like that? Are not 60 frames per second. Like they made the console about 60 frames per second instead of lauding it as that. And you know, they internally made it a point, and that's, you know, kudos to them, because they realized that was a big talking point. And look at all the problems Xbox have had with exclusives with 30 frames per second. Like, that was a big talking point about Starfield, and also with Hellblade. Sony had none of those problems. I remember I was making fun of Horizon for having 30 frames per second, then I got the egg thrown on my face when they had the 60 frames per second announced on Horizon 2. For Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I think the Pro is going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be a real good time for the PlayStation community. I think they deserve a nice show. I'll say that much. I think they're very loyal fans, that they buy the stuff. They deserve a celebration type show, and Pro, it would be perfect. So, and that's what I say. I think September they'll have something.
Yeah, September's gonna be interesting to see if what J-Dub was saying is right. If all this, you know, quietness was all strategized around the PS5 Pro, and Microsoft made it easy for PlayStation, right? They said, you know what, they literally feels like we're not even worried about that. We're doing our own thing. We're going our own direction. Hell, we're gonna put out games on your platform. I mean, shit. What was it? The Fallout 4 update ran better on the PS5. Yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, at this point, like, gee, now you like me. If I was an Xbox content creator, I'd be like, now Microsoft, you just trolling us now. Now you're just being disrespectful. Like, we can't even get the best version of Fallout. Like, God. Like, stop spitting at us. Like, shit. Like, give us something. Like, purposely fuck up the PlayStation version, at least, so we could talk shit. Yeah. Like, not even that. Oh, Fallout 4 update. Oh my God, it runs better. Yeah. Like, what?
That's why I love you, Rock. You're right. I would like flip it a bug.
If I was an Xbox content creator, you would have saw me flip the fuck out months ago.
Oh no!
The moment listen, I'll be honest. If I was an Xbox guy, and Gears Tactic that day, you would have saw me blown up. I would have went on every Xbox podcast and cursed everybody out.
You go
and everybody would look at me nuts. I'd be like, listen, this ain't gonna be the last time. They're gonna keep doing this shit, because if they did it once, they're gonna do it again.
I'll give you a lot of credit, because you keep it real with Sony. You've always had.
Oh yeah, when they piss me off, the few things.
They piss you off bad. You rock them. But there's a lot of guys in Sony that with some of the content creators that are like, it would be okay, but you definitely you're not afraid to tell them when they're fucking up.
Yeah, there was a few moments. I'm like, what the?
Someone is asking if Phil smokes weed. That's funny.
No,
he is now. He's smoking the good shit now. He's like, woo! He see that he saw Sea of Thieves still in the top 10. He's like, woo! I knew it. Feels like I knew it. When was the last time he seen back to back? Sea of Thieves on MPD. He's like, man, we're back MPD, boys.
That's crazy. Yeah, it was 3 this year. It was 4, right?
Like, at least 2-3 months in a row, or 2 months in a row. It's one of the top selling games of the year. Oh, he's fucking like listen, if there was any chance of not if there was any chance of not putting more games on PlayStation, that shit died. He's like, wait a minute. I got like 4 or 5 first party games in the top sellers. This is it. We're done.
I mean,
we can't go back.
I think like that's the thing. Like once you open that can of worms, like okay, yeah, of course, fucking that. What's that stupid game that Jay always posts up? The Sawyer game. It's horrible. Like has like cartoon graphics.
Oh,
I forgot.
Was it? That's J-Do's favorite game. He has the meme. He loves that meme. The little tongue meme.
Yeah, he put me in the meme once.
Joker that was sticking his tongue out.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, if you're gonna do that, like, if you're gonna go that way, it's just inevitable. Imagine for Forza Horizon 5 on Pro.
Oh my god! Racing. And you know, PlayStation guys, that's one game I would say the racing fans will like because they don't have it. They don't have an open world.
Plus, imagine with the capabilities of Pro, like it could have in-game. You know, that's where it becomes really tricky for Xboxes because now you're going to be putting your games not only on PlayStation 5, you're going to be putting them on Pro, and I mean. It's just a natural reaction. You let's just say they put Forza Horizon 5 on there, and it has full real-time ray tracing in-game, and you're playing that at 4K. You realize what type of hysteria message that's going to send out.
And you're going to be there.
They don't I'm going to be there.
You're going to be there on that day.
Me and Jay are going to be streaming it, like laughing. I mean, like it's just like that's where I think that they really lost the plot with that whole PlayStation, like going to PlayStation, was because you just open yourself, you open yourself wide to just get killed in so many areas.
And there's still console gamers. We still have console gamers. All this talk, like you said, consoles dying, that's a lie. We have a huge console community.
Yeah.
And now Microsoft even opened the door for PlayStation to absorb even more.
Exactly.
So
that's what people are not talking about. Like, people are trying to push this narrative, like, oh, consoles going away. Like maybe in 20 years, but like not now.
Yeah, not
now. All you're gonna do is you're gonna be getting all these guys that are gonna get fed up and just get a PlayStation 5 Pro. Especially when their messaging is no. I mean, it's crazy to be even talking about it. Their messaging is don't even buy an Xbox, buy a Fire Stick. I mean, like,
and that's terrible because you're not gonna get a great experience on Fire Stick.
No.
Hell, I'm gonna be honest. I still buffer on my Fire Stick. This is movies. Yeah. Like sometimes I see The Ring when I'm watching a Netflix for like. Granted, it's only like 2-3 seconds. Yeah. But imagine playing Madden or a game. Like, I don't want to see that shit at all. I want a smooth experience all the time. I don't want my shit slowing down or pausing or like.
No.
The fuck?
It's good if you're at your grandma's house or your mom's house and you have no other option. Like
if you're really, really stuck and you're fiending for some games, you'll do what you got to do, right?
Exactly. But like I saw Pearce's video and he's like, I tried it, and right away I can notice it. Like gamers that I know just don't like that. They don't like when you notice it. It's like remember when you had a dead pixel on your thing. You would look at just that dead pixel,
and it would kill the whole experience. You can't get your mind out of it.
Exactly. You're just not gonna like it as much. It's good to have it as an additive thing or in a pinch. But man, you'd want to play it natively, fresh on, But I've honestly heard though that NVIDIA, I haven't tried it. GeForce is.
I heard the Shield. What is it? The Shield or is it NVIDIA Shield? But that's like really, really built with cloud gaming. Man. Like Fire Sticks ain't built for cloud gaming in mind. It's not. It's just opportunity to do cloud gaming. But it's not really enhanced and optimized for it.
Exactly.
It's a Fire Stick.
Yep.
It's not even optimized for movies, and that's the shit it's supposed to do. And that motherfucker's still a pain in the ass. Like sometimes I got the Fire Stick 4K Pro, whatever, and you can tell when you like press the button to see the image of what the movie. Sometimes it still says 1080p. I'm like, why the fuck are you 1080p? You're the Fire Stick 4K. It goes like on and off, and you could kind of tell when it's like tittering like this. But it's a movie. It's like whatever. You're watching whatever. But games, we take games more serious. Like we want the consistent quality. We want the consistent graphics. We don't want our shit to go up and down and just be
especially if it's fast paced.
Yeah.
Like
wait. Actually, talking about alternative means of playing. Team Doc, since you're here, this Xbox handheld. Tell me what that's about.
That's supposedly real. Supposedly going to happen. I don't know. I think it's going to be a expensive device, but do I really want that? No. I mean, I think I had bought the Portal. I think the Portal is a nice thing, even though you can tell it's still decent. Yeah, that's real. Do I think it's going to be the game changer? No, I don't know. Like, what do you guys want to know?
Tell me what it is. Like, what are they?
I heard
what do you know about it?
What I heard is that when Jez wrote his article, when he first wrote his article, that was directly from Phil. So if you read his article, it'll kind of cue you in where they're talking about. And basically, they're just they're going to make an Xbox handheld that can play your catalog or any games that you buy. I think that Tom Warren was just teasing that, where like your whole library is going to be available, and you'll be able to do it on your Game Pass. Obviously off of Wi-Fi or wherever you are. To me, it's okay, it's cool, but I'd rather have the console. You know what I mean?
So let me dig down. So is it going to have its own processor, GPU, APU on board?
I would think so.
You download games to it natively, and then you can play them off the handheld.
I don't think it's going to be a dummy device. So I do think the processing will be done. It'll be like Steam Deck. But what I have heard is that they're not going after the same market. So, like, let's say when I say that, when PlayStation makes something, they're going after 200 million people. Okay, when Xbox is now they're looking and researching and R&D this handheld, their maximum is maybe 25 million, because obviously they don't have the share, but they're also probably going to be using more expensive types, so it's not going to be cheap. So
it's like Asus Rogue type. It's like an Asus Rogue type device.
Exactly.
They're looking for
it's going to be like an Asus Rogue, but supposedly, or a Steam Deck, but supposedly better. So it will be able. There it is, Steam Deck. You can play their motto: play your games anywhere, everywhere you go. You'll be able to play a whole library via. Obviously, you need a Wi-Fi connection, but the processing itself will be done natively, just like the Steam Deck. But again, I think it'll probably be expensive. I don't think it's going to be cheap. And if they do it,
So I was going to ask, do you think it's this generation or next generation? Now, how many years away do you think we are from it?
I think 2026. That's that's what I've heard. I heard that they wanted to get away from Sony because of the ass kicking, and they just want to be away from Sony, which makes sense. And then,
so do you think 2026 for just the handheld?
The handheld,
or do you think 2026 for handheld and another console?
It's possible it could be both, but I personally think they're going to come out with the handheld, and then the console. I don't think that's been completely greenlit. I don't know why you would greenlight a console at this point, to be honest.
It's just because how do you again, I'm gonna see the only thing that makes sense, and this is, I ain't gonna say the only thing that makes sense, but one of the things we talked about on the podcast was Microsoft trying to find a sneaky way to get the community out of console, or at least them manufacturing my console, by making these pre-built PCs, right? Microsoft creates let third party make these pre-built PCs, but they're called Xbox, right? Slap the title Xbox on it, and Microsoft, kind of like, you know how Surface tablets, the operating system is Windows, but it's tablet mode. Well, they create console mode, but it's Windows. But when you play it on these pre-built machines, it gives the feel of a console. You see the UI, you can power it up with a controller. But Microsoft's not actually building the hardware. They're just providing the software for other people to build the hardware.
Yes.
So you can still get this console hardware, but Microsoft's not doing the research and the money for it. All they're doing is they provide the software. It's a win-win for Microsoft.
Agreed. I think that's very, very smart of you to say. I think that's been suggested. Yeah, 100%. I think Samsung might be involved. I don't know. But
Dell, Asus. Because the reason why I say this is, the reason why I say this is I'm learning from Phil when he says, you know what, this sounds like a good idea. Chances are he already started it.
Yeah, right? 100%.
Because and the reason why that woke me up to me, you remember the whole Redfall thing, right? Remember the whole Redfall downfall, and Phil went on the IGN podcast, right? He went on his apology tour. But towards the end, he's like, "Hey guys, we gotta do things different. We can't also Nintendo. We just can't out console. Starfield could be 11 out of 10." And we're just not going to switch.
Wrong, right? Yeah.
But when he said that statement, no one knew that they already greenlit to port Sea of Thieves to PlayStation.
Right.
That changed my perspective, because I'm like, wait a minute. So you mean while he was doing this apology tour, he already knew he's putting games on PlayStation? He already initiated the plan. So now I look at Phil when Phil's like, hey, maybe this might be a good idea. Now you got to look at him like, did you already do it? Because this sounds like, so when he mentioned, hey, it might be a great idea, you could play Steam and Epic Game Store on the next console. No, it's probably because you already doing that. You are planning to release pre-built PCs under the guise of consoles, but you're going to make it look like a PC. But in reality, you're pushing people towards PC.
Sense for him, to be honest. I mean, when you're a series, if I'm a shareholder and I'm looking at the way the company is Xbox is right now, I'm just strictly speaking on like sound decisions. I don't really think that I'd be hard pressed to give an argument why they should do another console when Series X and the Series console is doing worse than the Xbox One. And listen, I think anybody who suggested that thought that no way they're going to have some type of bounce back. They didn't get that bounce back. What do you think is going to change now? Now it's like they've had 3 consoles, Xbox One, X, and they had 2 consoles. This will be the third, or just do something like that where they just their hands off and they could play wherever. Like we don't have to worry where they play. Play on PC, play on Fire Stick, play on Samsung, App Store, play on Android App Store. Play wherever you want, but we don't have to do this console thing anymore. It costs way too much money. We employ way too many people for it. Mm-hmm. We can slim down the organization, and just have the Windows team support give the software, update it, and that's what they do, and that's what they've already transitioned. Like Xbox had its own team under Jason to do Xbox Series X. That's no longer the case. He's doing it with the Windows team, and I've heard that's going to be a shit show. So, yeah, I think that the things that you brought up and the way you pictured it, I think that's very real. I think that's a real shitty for fans, to be honest. What I'm hoping for is maybe a handheld. I don't care about the handheld. I think that's being done. But in addition to a handheld, they do some type of niche, very powerful Xbox that you're not listening. The days of them competing with Sony are over, and Nintendo. We knew it at the Redfall podcast, at that podcast when he said that. So maybe they have some type of really expensive niche hardware. But other than that, I think that in reality, the third-party console is probably catching the most heat right now. There's been a lot. See, the thing about Xbox too is they get a lot of things that get up and running. Like with they had the adapter for Xbox all ready to go, and then they shoot it down at the last moment, like to say no, we're going to decide against it. and that probably because of the Fire Stick was one of the reasons. So there are things that are being talked about and discussed right now in this thing, but I just like the way it's going and their messaging. If you read between the lines, I think it's destined for something like you said. Maybe Dell and Samsung makes the hardware, and they get maybe 50 million out of that, and Samsung makes a little bit of money, and Xbox makes them a little bit of money, but they're just basically a slimmed down uh, top publisher, and that's basically where it's going. And then and in the next generation, they're not even around. They're just PC, and Sony's making PlayStation 7. I really think that Sony has at least 2 more gens, 3 more gens for hardware, maybe even more. Just because I think, like you said, there are console gamers. People just, and I had this argument with Jaffe. People just want to just touch a button and be right in their game and ready to go. And he's like, well, you can do that on a PC. The reality is, no, you can't, because you have to set your PC up to auto log you in, to auto launch your Steam application, to do all the things that it has to do. It's never going to be as fast or have instant like auto resume and all the things that consoles have built into them to make it a fast, curated experience that we all like. I don't want to deal with PC, and there's many people like us that just want to play it on a console. So I think Sony is in a real good position. That's why I'm a fan of them right now. Is because I want the console to go. I want to have consoles in the next 10 years. I don't want it to be fucking a PC or fucking some bullshit on a TV tab or whatever. I want like a local device that's kick ass.
Oh yeah, I mean, oof, interesting time. All right, let me hit some super chats.
Go ahead.
Real quick, and then we'll go with you. We got Nathan Zoy says Xbox already has a handheld. It's called Leapfrog. Ouch. This chat right here. Wadawana, he says Steam machines failed. Console like PC isn't new. And I agree with Wadawana, but this is where I found it interesting, because one of my thing is, like, Nintendo, they found success by not doing what PlayStation does. They found their own lane with this, hybrid. I don't think consider a hybrid, but they found this market that PlayStation doesn't touch. They use their first party to leverage it, and it's successful. Now, what if with this Xbox handheld, it does a better job, better advertisement? It just resonates better for whatever reason compared to the Steam Deck, compared to the Asus Rogue or the Lenovo Legion. People just for whatever reason are more receptive to an Xbox handheld playing AAA games at 1080p in the palm of your hand as compared to Asus. Like, you could get people be like, I'm not interested in Asus or any of that stuff. Oh, Xbox made a handheld? Ooh, did they really? Oh, how does it play? How does it feel? Does it look? This is really cool. I'm really enjoying Xbox in a handheld. This is great. And I'm thinking Microsoft might be trying to do that. They might try to say, okay, you don't like Xbox as a home console, but do you like it on the go in a dedicated handheld? Maybe that experience of Xbox in a handheld, kind of like Nintendo. The whole Nintendo as a home console was dying. It just wasn't resonating to people. It wasn't. Unless they did something weird like the Wii, people just wasn't feeling it. Every generation, less and less console sales for Nintendo. They blew up with the Wii, but then when they went back to the traditional model, sort of, with the Wii U, it blew up in their face. It sold terribly. But now, Nintendo's like, all right, how about a nice dedicated Nintendo powerful handheld that you could take on the go or just play as a handheld? And people are like, you know what? I like this. This is how I like to play my Nintendo. And maybe occasionally I dock it and play on a TV. Maybe Microsoft might see, all right, with Xbox, most people didn't like it as a console, but would they like it as a mobile handheld? They could just have them anywhere they go. That could be a potential. That could be there. People could say, I like Xbox this way. As a mobile device, I could play my games to go. And I said, hey, that could be a potential. Nintendo did it for them, and it worked.
Absolutely, especially if they give you the capability to still plug it into the TV. basically just a powerful switch.
Yeah.
You know, like that could be something where it's like, yeah, occasionally you actually plug it in and then it works off of your TV, but most of the time it's a handheld. There is potential there. There definitely is potential there, because even the ROG Ally, it does that. You can plug it into your TV and you can connect it through Bluetooth controllers and basically use it as a powerful switch. So yeah, like I think if they're going to go for the native, you can play games natively on this device route, then it will be very silly to not include that capability. So yeah, it could work as a hybrid, you know, like, you know, people claim that there's switches.
I'm gonna be honest. So I don't know about you guys, but next generation is gonna be interesting in terms of just how everything's gonna pan out. Like, is Nintendo gonna change up the formula with the Switch 2, or they just gonna stick with, hey, it's the Switch, just more powerful, nothing more. We're not gonna try to overtake the PlayStation 6 or any weird thing like that. You just got a more powerful Switch, better games, whatever. What's Microsoft gonna do in their new landscape, you know? And will Sony just be like, you know what? We got everything to ourselves. Let's just make a nice, powerful PlayStation 6. Mark Cerny, do your magic. Or will they slip and do something insane where all of us going to be like, what? What did you do, Sony? Like, why? Why are you doing this? Just make a console. Just stop. We're going to buy it. It's easy. It's already sold. PlayStation 6 is already sold. Just do what everyone expects. It's going to be interesting. Next gen is going to be crazy, I think. Next gen is going to be like, it's just going to play out. Because this whole Microsoft thing just completely shifted the balance. Just completely changed everything. Like, I don't think anybody expected. I mean, even though I said it, but it wasn't like I was 100% new. I always like... To me, in my mind, I'm like, this is possibly the most logical step. Unless Microsoft... put their foot down, says, you know what, we're done playing, we're gonna be all about the console. But they didn't do that. They said, we're going with this third party strategy, and they're hitting it hard. You know, so so it's not a question of if they're gonna do it, it's just how in depth are they gonna do it. You know, will they ever do day and date? You know, will they get like, look at Doom is day and date with PlayStation. I didn't expect that. I at least thought every game would be timed exclusive on Xbox. Every single one of them. I honestly thought that. I thought maybe at least a year. Give Xbox some shine. Give Game Pass and Xbox some shine for a year, then put it on PlayStation. PlayStation game was going to buy it anyway. That's the thing. They were going to... Look at Sea of Thieves. That shit... How old is that game, Tim Dog? 6 years old? Right? 7? Like, when did it come out? How old
2017, wasn't it?
2017. How old is Sea of Thieves?
2017.
So 7 years old.
2018 maybe.
Yeah, so 7 years old and the PlayStation guys are buying it. So they'll buy a game that's a year old. They would have bought it. Like if Doom would have been if Doom would have been time exclusive for Xbox, the new Doom that's coming out, they didn't have to release it day and day. PlayStation games would have bought it anyway a year later. They would have bought it. $70.
Yeah, that's true.
They would have bought it. It would have been nothing to them.
Even the same thing with Starfield. Like when Starfield releases, that is going to set up crazy.
As much shit as PlayStation gamers talk, they're gonna buy it day one. That game.
I always say that. I always say that. I trust none of them. And then if Microsoft
does like upfront, be like, hey, you'll be able to play the game day one at 60 frames, option, performance mode, and if it comes out on Pro. Native 4K. Oh my god! Like, bro,
that's the thing.
That shit's insane.
Every time they do that, when their games come out, it's always going to be, especially with the Pro, like Blade. Let's just say when that comes out, that's going to be fucking, even though it's so far away. But whatever games that come out, especially day and date, and they're on Pro, forget about it. It's going to be a shit show. People are going to be, they're going to compare Pro to Xbox Series X, and it's going to be a massacre, what I mean?
Especially if it's, let's say, like Blade day and date. Oh, my, and on the Pro? Oh, come on.
I think
like I said, if I was an Xbox influencer, I'd be like, I can't take it. I'm getting my ass
whooped. That was one of the big signs, too, when that came out. They had an awesome game show, and then I think Clobrel was like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, why don't you advertise this and jumping off? That really set off bells with me. I'm like, you know what? I'm like,
why really went off? Like, why aren't you screaming through the roof, Xbox console exclusive or something? Just say the words. It's a simple word. console exclusive.
He told me. I remember I asked Cobra. I said, "Can you?" I remember when the whole thing went down. I said, "Can you really go on thinking that you can trust this company?" And he's like, "Nope." And I remember, I was like, it's just crazy because of something that I pushed for so hard and I was back behind. I really I'm so detached to the moment where I don't care about it anymore. I really look at them it's in a different light, 100%. And I look even myself, I was caught up, I mean, I was always the guy that would come back with the response to the Sony fans, and I was in the middle of the console war and this and that.
Some good times. There was some funny times, bro.
Yeah,
BGST. Times, I'm telling you, there was that era. Yeah. Oh, you, Zaire, Showstopper. That I don't think people have no Mooch. People have no idea the golden era of console war. My God, you miss a brilliant, masterful era of podcasting. I think, in my opinion, I give these guys the credit for podcasting in this type of space. BGST was ahead of his time. It was everybody tuned in Sunday. Every Sunday like clockwork, man. BGST was BGST in football. Crap. I'm telling you, man. Yeah. The what these guys did during those 2-3 hours every Sunday. Oh my God.
Mooch was
when you introduced Mooch. Oh man.
Everyone hated Mooch the worst.
He was bad. Yeah, Mooch was bad. Yeah. He really got other people's school. Mooch's minute, oh man! In 1 minute, pissed off everybody. He had this thing called Mooch, and then he used to have the Uncle Sam character that really pissed off people. That really pissed off people, in Europe, all the European gamers. Oh, they hated that character.
And Mr. Negative, who was a Marine, and I respect him for that. I respect him for that. But he would hate it. He was in my DMs. He's like, just give me 1 minute with that guy on the podcast. But people were really hated Mooch, and I love Mooch, but Mooch, all of us really had
little by little
a time where we figured
out
Microsoft.
Yep, Iron Wolf was one of the first ones to leave.
Titans in the Cloud, remember that?
Yeah, he was the one that was saying that the Cloud was the strongest for Titans. So he was deep in it, but once he saw Microsoft drop Japanese support, he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on here? And he was one of the first to leave.
He went crazy with Street Fighter. That was his last.
Oh, the exclusive. That was the last.
Zaire's last straw was when Shannon walked.
When she said what is
more bullets and headshots.
The fucking snowflake game.
When she said, what was that game? That gyro game. What is it? The ball game that you put it in different animals. What was it? Different machines.
I know what you're talking about.
The gyro. Come on, chat. Help me out. The globe. The gear game. The girl. She's a female character. And you would grab this orb
Lucky
and you can act. Not Lucky Tales, but it was
It was one of those shit games.
She said that's similar to Gears of War and Halo. That's when Zaire lost his mind. Yeah. He's goddamn core. He's goddamn core on the level of Gears. Oh hell no! This girl lost her goddamn mind. Recore. When she said that games like Recore on the level of Gears, he flipped out. He says this girl lost her goddamn mind. Recore on the level of Gear.
Well, you know what's funny was Craps said Craps' moment was when he got roasted by Phil. What was funny was they really were wrong. They never lauded Quantum Break as a PC game, and then 3 weeks before the release, they're like, it's coming to PC. And Phil at the time was like, it's just coming to Windows, okay? Because at the time it was UWP.
Yeah.
So I remember he said that, but then in classic Microsoft style, the game becomes not on UWP and it goes on Steam. Yes. And they broke that promise. And I remember Steiny, that fucking swarmy fuck. He goes, it's a launch exclusive. That's what it was.
That's when the term launch exclusive, like, oh, this is getting stupid.
He was the smarmy fuck that made the thing, and then they started that up recently with Booty asshole when he said that when he was he's saying that, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. Listen, I'm an East Coast guy. Those people on West Coast for Xbox, they need some East Coast blood, bro, because they're just total fucking pushover, whatever, or passive aggressive pussies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's like once you crack ice, like for example, when Horizon Zero Dawn went on PC, me and J-Dub, we were like, oh shit. Yep. Sony broke ice, bro. Like, because me and J-Dub, we were like, what the fuck? Like, they actually did it. And like, for no reason. I'm like, I grant it. All right. Ultimately, they want to make more money. But I'm like, what the fuck? They cracked ice. Like when I told Ran, I apologize. I told Ran, you were spot on, bro. I give him my flowers. I give him flowers. I give him the whole forest. I'm like,
Ran has a very good. He
was spot on. And at this point, I'm like, it's like it's what's next.
You find out in the community who's who too when this whole
Ran was on spot on.
People, for me myself with the community, like who was who, like there was a lot of people that deaded me or used me. Like I remember a guy, Rob Reclaimer Rob, he has a picture of himself with Phil in his avatar like a fucking weirdo. He was like, fuck you and all this stuff, and I remember he was like at the worst. He didn't get into Xbox Fan Fest and he came crying to me because a lot of people know that I was friends with Aaron. And he's like, oh, this is completely screwed up. But he got himself in by himself crying. But, like, so you learned a lot about the community. But I'll tell you, one guy that was like, Rand is awesome.
Yeah.
Even Jez, I have to say, Jez, he wants me to come back to Xbox and be Xbox. I love Jez, but he was very good to me. Like, there's been people, like, within the community that have been really cool and respect my opinion. They're still Xbox guys, but you know what I mean? They just know that they know how I feel. It's nothing personal. That was the thing. It was never personal with any of the fans. It was just personal with the direction of the company. It was just like, oh, if you're going to pull this shit, you're going to pull this.
Yeah.
Sure.
At this point, like
shit, bullshit. Like, to me, that's like, it's just, I don't want to say the words, but it's like, it's the worst fucking thing you could do. Like that's like, they should have fucking raised game price to $39.99. Do whatever they had to do. The last thing you should do when they put their games on PlayStation was just like, it was just admitting that, they can't compete, basically. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at that point, I would have just, if I was Phil, I would have been like, later, I'm retiring.
So what's interesting? What's interesting? Come back to Xbox, but the reality is, technically, everyone is Xbox. So it's like, that's technically the point. Like you didn't leave. Like it's going to be on PlayStation, so you still technically like. But that's the thing people got to get used to. Come back to Xbox, like, bro. Xbox is everywhere now, so you're never gonna leave. It's like EA. Doesn't matter what platform you choose, EA is there.
They don't have their identity.
Yeah.
In like 2 years. It's gonna and I know a lot of influencers and or whatever the people on YouTube, they're like freaking out because now they're gonna have no content. But I have to say, in like 2 years, I bet your show is still going, and a lot of Xbox shows are not because there's just not going to be much to talk about something that doesn't have an identity. And the thing is that, let's be honest, the console is a big identity item of these podcasts. Like.
I used to tell you the dedicated console.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But like we used to go back and forth. But I always expected your shit, bro. Yeah. And all the Sony guys, like I said, you've gotten me on things too. You got me bad. I was like, Jake. I was like, Jay's got me, but like Rock would always get me on something. Mm-hmm. But no. But the reality is, like, it's funny that you say dedicated console because. I understand your vision. I understand your passion for that too. Like you just didn't want them, and I understood you didn't want them to get fuck around because they're so great at what they do. Just keep it going the same way. You know what I mean? But I mean, if at the end of the day, if their games are coming out a year later, it's not really a big deal. Like everyone everyone was like, they're going day and date. They're not putting their games on Xbox, and that was the whole thing. Like everyone was like goofing on me about the Horizon going to fucking Nintendo Switch, and they're all of a sudden third party. When that game goes to Xbox, talk to me then, because basically what Sony's saying is that hey, you're still not getting our shit. You know what I mean? We're
crazy.
still not getting.
That's insane.
You know what I mean?
See, here's the thing.
Like
Sony
literally,
still
everyone can get it, but you. like God damn.
And they were championing that too. Like, bro, do you even know what you're championing? You're fucking not even getting the game, you fucking moron. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're getting shit. Like they're basically saying you suck, and that's how hard up Xbox guys were for a win.
Sony still that shows you one thing though. Sony still views Xbox as the opposite, as competitors, and they're still willing to have their safeguards, even though it looks like Xbox is not doing X, Y, and Z, or they're no longer competing or whatever. Sony still is like, well, I don't care. I'm still not putting my games on your platform. I'm still going to view you as X, Y, and Z, but you can put your games on mine, and we can, make money off of it that way. And it's sad seeing Microsoft go down this path, man. They don't even mention the console no more. The console is an afterthought, and all of the marketing stuff that they have, and that's not to say Sony has a lot of missteps, but at least one thing I can say, and we can all probably agree with this: when Sony comes out with some bad news, it's instantly followed up with some good news. They're not just going to let that bad news just linger out there forever. Microsoft let for 2-3 months with the negative rumors go by without saying anything before they finally came out and said, yeah, these games are going there. Like Sony has a plan. They're like, yeah, we may increase price here, but we're going to give them X, Y, and Z, or we're going to give them a state of play, or we're going to give them this, or we're going to give them exclusive or something. We're going to follow up this bad news with some good news to kind of make things kind of even out. Microsoft will just fester on some negative news. Like this whole Game Pass price increase shit, they're not going to follow up with any good news behind this. This shit's just going to sit there, and it's just going to be what it is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know. So it's almost like it's just okay. So Tim Dog left, but just to finish up, oh shit, who showed up? I see his guess who.
You and guess who?
It's the truth.
Oh, what's up, Truth? I see guess who. I'm like, oh man. I mean, I know I give you rights, so somebody I know. I'm like, oh, who's it is now? But I say like, just like what you said. It seems like Microsoft shows the good news and then they do the bad news after. Like, hey, look at our game showcase, and everybody's like, man, the showcase is great. Oh yeah, by the way, we're raising the price, dog.
Yeah.
So the shit, like we promised you, yeah, you still got to pay more for it. It's like, oh shit, we knew it was happening. We knew it was coming, right? But here's the crazy part, right? They increased the price, and Extreme, you mentioned this.
Yeah.
The thing about Microsoft is they do shows, but then the games don't actually deliver what you think it's going to do. Like you look at it at a show, but then when the game comes out, it's like, like it didn't hit. Like, you know what I'm saying? So now you increase the price. The game's got to hit. They got to hit because you increase the price. They can't be left, because I know a lot of gamers are saying, and I want to say shout out to SNK, says, what's up, PR77? Are you on Discord tonight? In terms of what? Because the only time I'm really on Discord is during the podcast and stuff. Is there something going on? Y'all just like streaming the fight or something? Shout out to SNK. Here's the thing. So the thing is this. Game Pass Ultimate is going to be $240 a year. You could technically be saving money, assuming you actually play these games and beat them. If all you do is download a game, play it for 10 minutes or an hour, delete it, then the next game, that's day one, you play it for an hour or two, you don't actually play in these games, then you're not saving money. Because you're paying $240 a year, and you're not beating anything. Especially if you just go back to Call of Duty and Fortnite, whatever, you're wasting $240 a year just to dabble. That's not a cost savings. You may think it's cost savings because you'd be like, well, I would have never played it, but you're not playing and beating the game. Like, you're not fully invested in the game. You're going to pay $240 and none of the games you actually, because I see that a lot. In fact, King Thrash, he calls people out all the time. Oh, you on Game Pass? Let me see all the games you beat. Because surely you must have shit ton of games beat. Because Game Pass has over 400 games. Let's see all these games beat. And you'd be surprised how many of them they don't beat games. They literally have access to all these games, and none of them beat it. So what the fuck are you spending money on if you're not actually playing and beating these games?
But they always say that they spend money to try games. That's what they literally say that all the time.
You're not saving money.
That's crazy, but that it is what it is.
If anything, you are trying games because you're spending money. You know, it's a low sunk theory. Since you're paying for it, you might as well try it out. You see what I'm saying? That's not saving money. If you know if you're not interested in a game or not, you know. By this point, if you've been gaming for years, you know what the fuck you like. For the most part, it's gonna be rare that you constantly picking bad games, unless you're an idiot. You know what I'm saying? So if you're investing $240 a year and you're like, oh, it's because I get to try out games. No, you're trying out games because you're spending $240 a year. That's why you're doing it. That's not saving money because you're not really playing anything. You're just dabbling.
I mean,
it would be better to focus on a game that you actually know you're gonna play, pay your $70, and play it and beat it and enjoy it. Now you're getting your money's worth. You're not getting your money's worth. Yeah, but the funny
thing is, like, besides the ones that do the champion for Game Pass, you feel me? Like, the ones that do champion for Game Pass but still buy games don't save money. That's what be making me laugh. Like, if you still buy Call of Duty, Hogwarts Legacy, Elden Ring, and then you play Game Pass, it's like, well, what money did you really save on Xbox games?
Like you still, but those guys, I think them guys are lying because you can't be like, there's no way you're gonna advocate to have Game Pass and you still buy the games day one that's on Game Pass. Like that, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's even just weird, right? The people who truly save on Game Pass are genuinely the people who actually play the games and beat them. You know, they actually go in there, they try it out, they play it, they beat it, they move on to the next game. They try like imagine have Netflix and you don't watch any show no more than 5 minutes. Then why the fuck you got Netflix for? You're not watching anything.
But that's what I said.
When it comes to games, the person that plays. No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. That was it. I was just saying, Smooth uses his Game Pass. Like he
plays it. Dark, he uses the Game Pass. He beats his games. He'll show you his list of games he beat, and they're on Game Pass. Yeah. Got it. He's saving money, right? But a lot of these dudes ain't saving money. They just like the idea that they have access to a lot of games, but they don't actually action that idea. They don't actually go in and play the games and beat it. They just like the idea of, oh, I got access to all these games. Okay, what games you beat? I play Call of Duty.
But here's the thing. I feel like the person that plays games in Game Pass and beats them fully, depending on the game, that's actually countervalued. Because let's take a game like Starfield. Let's say you're one of the people that for some reason you love Starfield, so you put 200 hours in it. And let's say that you are a grown adult, like 30 years, you know, where the median gaming age is. Which means that you probably get, maybe if you're lucky, 10 hours of gaming per week, maybe 15 if you push it. Over 200 hours, that's like 3 weeks, you know, 4 weeks, 8 weeks that you're taking to play this game. So while you're playing Starfield, yes, you didn't pay for, you know, $70 a pop or whatever, but the entire rest of the library, that's going to waste because you're not playing it, you know. So it's like, at a certain level, you have to think that, okay, if you're going to play Diablo, you're going to play Starfield, and then you're going to play another big, huge, kind of time-consuming game, it's not worthwhile because, again, the library that you have access to cannot be played because you're already giving your time away to these games that are going to suck you in, right? And that's where, again, it becomes like, yeah, it would be better for you to buy these games, even if it's just on sale, to make like the finances work, than pay for access to this vast library that you cannot make use of. Because a lot of people, they keep comparing to Netflix, but we talked about this before. Netflix is quick. After 10 hours, you can be done with a show, you know?
Yes.
10 hours is like, 10 hours in a game, you might not be past the tutorial. Like, you might be on the first planet. You know?
That's true. Like, if you have Game Pass and you beat and play 2 games the whole year because they're long as fuck, you just spent $240 on 2 games.
Yeah. So it's like you're paying $120 per game. And again, how many games do people actually beat per year? You know, like there are people who are prolific gamers, you know, they game pretty much every single day. Like you take a look at Jay Barry's and Persona and Jack Move and BG. And these guys, you know, they're just running through games. I'm just like, how do you do it? You know? But for most people, even like myself, like I'd be lucky if I beat 15 games a year, and that includes a lot of like smaller indie games. If I try to just stick to like AAA length games, if I was trying to do the Assassin's Creeds, the
Elden Ring,
Last of Us's, the God of Wars,
you pick the biggest of the biggest.
The Elden Rings, the RPGs, the Personas. Oh my God, Persona 5. That thing was a semester long for me. Like it was really like a school term because I was like, dude. 150 hours, and that is just you playing the game normally. If you want to go in and take different paths or different options, you want to do Nier Automata or whatever. It's gonna be crazy. And yeah, we have SNK trying to come in here.
Okay, got it. I got you, SNK. All right, you in SNK? You in, brother? Oh, I didn't understand what you were talking about. Yeah, you just got to unmute, brother. But I didn't understand what you're talking about. Oh, so you're in the room. Got it. Appreciate it, brother. All right, hopefully.
Hopefully you can hear us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yo, what's good, B-Rock? Que loco?
Ahí, what's up, hermano? Oh, shit.
Oh, man, long time coming, man. I've been wanting to be on your show for a long time, man.
Shit, you're always welcome.
Yeah, man. It's an honor to be here today, man.
Oh man,
I was here in the chat earlier, man, and I was talking the way you guys talk about PlayStation, because I don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, but I really want the PlayStation 5 Pro when it comes out. And what I remember that.
I remember you told me was it you that asked me should you just get the Pro or wait for the Pro? And I think I told you wait for the Pro. You waited this long, you might as well just wait a few more months and see what's up, and then make a decision again.
Because I was really patient. I really wanted to get that, man. I can't wait. Because the way you, King Thrash, and so many people talk about PlayStation and the games that come out for it, I'm like, man, I'm so jealous of you guys, man.
I'm telling you.
I really am.
When you play this game, boy, you even heard Tim Dog. He even said it that, like, when you actually play it, you just know it's different, man. Like, you can see the quality, man. People talk shit, and that's online, but there's a reason why everybody's so hard up on PlayStation first party and stuff like that. Because when you play a PlayStation first party, that meticulous detail and quality, you just know that there's only a few developers out there. That's why they use Rockstar every time. Like anytime somebody goes, who's better than first place in first party, they instantly go to Rockstar. That's like the easy go-to. But the fact that that's who's your first go-to, that tells you. When you have to already pull your big joker, I don't know if you play spades, but when you're already trying to cut spades right already, that's where you're like, oh shit, you're in trouble, dog. That's like the number one go-to dev versus PlayStation, Rockstar. Everybody mentions that. Oh, Rockstar. Nobody mentions Ubisoft or Capcom.
Yeah, true.
Everybody goes straight to Rockstar to compete with PlayStation. Every time.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to brag, but I am a console collector, and I also collect like arcade hardware. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is one generation that I'm just gonna skip the Xbox completely. I have every single Xbox except for this one, and I'm not even gonna touch it.
You're not the only one.
I mean, you can get on a Fire Stick, you know what I'm saying? No console required. So
you probably already have an Xbox. Just boot up your Fire Stick.
Exactly. Your laptop, your cell phone, you good.
But it's still not this,
I know
like me being an avid console collector, it just makes me go like, yeah, I don't need this shit.
You're gonna be soon your kid's gonna ask you, hey dad, how come you didn't get an Xbox Series console? You're gonna be like that Jim McMahon meme. You're gonna be that meme like that's dead.
Like
nah, dog. Like nah, did that shit. Like I don't know. It's weird, bro. I know what you mean though. Like it's weird gen. This gen is weird. This gen is weird, and next gen is gonna be weirder. If Microsoft comes out with a handheld, who knows what happens with the Switch 2? PlayStation Pro, J-Dub could be right. Sony could be focusing on actually coming out with a really powerful Pro to extend the generation to 2030, so that way they have more times to release more games. This gen is unique in almost every way. Like everything's new.
I mean, it started in COVID. So it's like,
that
it
tells
was
you
always
everything.
going to be different. It was always going to be different.
I think COVID is
really?
Like I agree with you. I think COVID is like starting to affect Sony now. I think that's also a reason why they kind of pushed everything to the Pro. Like I really do. But I'm about to get off here, Rock. I just wanted to come on and say, because I wanted to have this on record, that Concord within the first 3 months will sell 5 million. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to have that on record.
On PC. On PC.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what it says.
The PlayStation guy's gonna be like, these console dudes gonna be like, watch. It's gonna be the PC dudes, man.
Like I said, I think Sony found their like little.
You think it's gonna sell 5 million? You think it's gonna sell 5 million?
Yeah, I'll know for sure.
3 months. 3 months. All right. Yo, somebody clip that.
That's an impressive.
Yeah, that's why
that's impressive. I'll be honest. If it sells 5 million 3 months total, even total between PC and PlayStation, I would be impressed. I would be impressed. I will actually. That's not bad. That's actually good. 5 million.
Yeah, like I said, I just see this as
incredible. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I just see this as their Sea of Thieves, their Fallout. I mean, Fallout 76. But you know, Sony come with quality. I think Xbox games have been fine, but I think their biggest issue is that because of the Series X and trying to be everywhere else, it's taking them way longer to develop, and they're forcing their games out fast because it's on Game Pass. Because even the Avowed devs came out and was like, they wasn't prepared to show the game, showed it, and then they saying they still trying to get things together, and it's supposed to release this year. Like they literally had a whole article interview where the devs was just being honest, and I'm like, yeah, Xbox is pushing games out fast.
Yeah.
Huh?
We're supposed to have multiplayer. They said, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, they were talking about just the combat itself. They were saying they still trying to get the impact and all that stuff down. So I'm like, yeah, I think Sony did a good job with the SSD and all that other stuff to be able to help the developers make the games faster. I just think COVID is starting to finally hit Sony in the face, and everybody else really, I think everybody going through it. But I just want to say 5 million in 3 months. I truly do believe that. Like I said, I think this is their fault. They see it these, but because they're coming out with a quality, maintained game, and then they did. Even their devs for Concord said they took Sony had gave them like an extra year some change. I think they took time to to get their seasons together with that and get more of them vignettes they're gonna be doing. I think that's gonna allow them to get in there and have a game that basically does decent in microtransactions. And I also was thinking about this, and then I'm gonna get off. You were saying who is gonna be the fans. I thought about this, and I was like, this game is made. People already keep comparing it to Overwatch, but it's more like a Destiny character shooter. And it's going to be for the Destiny fans that left Destiny, who was mad at Rockstar for, Bungie, not Rockstar, Bungie for, the people that was mad at the Destiny stuff and who was like, I'm never going back. This is going to be for them people. I promise. That's probably a lot of their people.
I remember what I told you about the wifey and the stripper. I told you, boy. I told you about that story. I told you the wifey in the strip.
I ain't saying the game's gonna blow up. I'm just saying the game
be 5 million. But you know what? I'll be impressed with 5 million. I will be impressed. 5 million 3 months. I don't think that's that bad. That's not bad. And I know some people be like, oh, that's only 2.2% of the PlayStation order. Shut the fuck up. With that bullshit, right? Because it's also on PC too, right? But I will be impressed. 5 million for this type of shooter.
Understood.
The percentage is.
I never understood that because I'm like Call of Duty, which is incredibly impressive, sells somewhere between 19 and 30 million a year, which is impressive to do every year. I said, but when you're selling on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and everywhere else, you ain't even doing 1%. But y'all don't talk about that. But let me get out of here, man.
Yo, P-Rock, you had a really interesting video about Alanah Pearce and about people with disabilities. Yeah. Like that was really interesting because, like I told you in the last video that you made that I have ADHD, and so it is really good to innovate on stuff to actually help out people with disabilities and stuff like that. So that way they can actually get a good gaming experience and enjoy gaming in a different way.
Yeah,
that's what's really important.
Yeah, so with a lot of it, the reason I did that was because, like I said in the video, it kind of hit close to home because that's where my degree is at that I just finished. And I actually did an 8-week course on human-computer interaction. That was one of the courses I had to take, and that was 8 weeks. And I had to do a paper on stuff like that. So I knew exactly what she was talking about. But people took it as she was trying to advocate that, let's say like a bartender is no different than a person who's deaf. And that's not what she was saying at all. All she was saying is the industry has this framework and they look at certain scenarios and they're just trying to build technology based on scenario. So for example, you got
to make life easier.
Yeah, and it's just to build the quality of life, So that's why I showed the video of the caravan. It was designed in mind for people who have kids. You're grocery shopping, your hands are full. You don't have, you can't use your hands to open a door. It's not trying to say you're no different than a disabled veteran that lost their arms in war. That's not what they're trying to say. But there's people who design technology and are saying, hey, caravans, they're a family-friendly car, lots of kids, lots of shopping. What if we're able to open the door without actually using your hands to make life convenient? And that's all she was trying to say. That's all she was trying to say. And people took it way to the left on some other shit. Bro, like, oh, this woke. I'm like, wow, even this is woke. Like, yo, they're throwing the word woke onto anything, bro. Like, this is ridiculous.
Because, you were showing the video last time about, this person putting on an apparatus in their head and actually controlling the game with their brain. That is so significant
Twitch,
in gaming, right? And for people. Yeah, that was really significant. It creates with the PlayStation VR and learning the disabilities. That shit would be amazing, bro.
Yeah,
it would be amazing because it would help out so many people.
That's all it is. It's that the whole framework is looking at situations, whether it's permanent, temporary, or situational, meaning something physically happened because you were born that way or made through injury, something temporary because you were injured, or something situational, just given the context of your life. How can we just make things better in your scenarios, right? That's all it is. That's all she was talking about, right? But people took it they try to make it into this battle between actual disabled people versus people who aren't really disabled. That's not what that was the conversation about. And the people took it the wrong way. It was just strictly about how the industry is looking across the board, whether it's hospitality, technology, auto, games, what situations or what things that could make life better for people to, to enjoy more stuff. That's all that was. That's all she was trying to say. Yeah. And the reason why is because she works at Sony. So she sees the people who sits at the table and do this all day. How can we make this game more available for more people, to more enjoyable, depending on the situation stuff, right? And people blew up at her, and I'm like, wow.
I also want to say that this whole notion of Elden Ring not having a pause button, I found that strange. I don't play Elden Ring, but I never enjoyed that any game that didn't have that system, because I play some games that didn't allow you to actually pause. And it's not about difficulty. It's about the fact that I have to answer the door sometimes, guys. Sometimes there's a package that comes in. What do you want me to do in the middle of a boss fight? I can't continue. It was a bit like with Returnal, right? I think this was a bigger conversation with Returnal. Remember, you couldn't suspend your game before. With Returnal, it was like, hey, you can put your console in rest mode, but if you step away from anything else, hey, boy, listen, you're restarting the whole thing over. Yes. And that was a bigger conversation back then. Then they gave us the ability to suspend the session. And then people were like, oh, it's easier now. And I'm like, no, because the game didn't change. The only thing is that, hey, you can now put your game in a suspended state so that if there's a power outage, if your console turns off, remember how it used to be updating the system update would happen in the middle of someone's game session when they're 5 biomes deep and they've got the best build that they love, and now they have to start the whole thing all over.
Yes.
So the thing is, I'm just like, as soon as that moment came through my timeline, I'm like, oh, it's like the Returnal thing. People just want to pause because that's just a fucking convenient thing. Because not all of us have an entire life.
Maybe you want to take a shit. Can you does me having a snapping turtle add to the difficulty to beating the boss? No, that's not From Software's what kind of fucking shit, bro. I don't think the designers put that in the game. Ooh, we're gonna make sure that you have to take a shit. That makes it just that much harder. You're gonna have to shit on yourself. You want to beat this boss? Shit on yourself. No. Nobody's advocating that you shit on yourself while playing the game. No one's doing that. Now some areas you can't help it. Call of Duty, NBA 2K, play online.
Games, we get it. Yeah.
You get it. But Elden Ring was a everybody try to use, well, what about the invasions? It's true. But you can play the game offline. So for the people that choose offline, obviously they just want to be alone, play the game they want. Yeah. Hey, I gotta take a shit. Pause. Can I take a shit for a couple of minutes? I gotta piss. fuck, I want to get a drink. Like, God, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. She just used the, you know, the parent thing as one example. But when you think about it, taking a shit, taking a piss, you're hungry, answer the door, your wife or girlfriend's calling you. God forbid your wife is calling you, you got to pick up the phone. Oh, I got a choice. You know, it's kind of like fucking, you know, The Millionaire. You have the timer. What do you do? Do you pick up the phone or do you beat this boss? Like, fuck. You know, it's just crazy. That just got out of hand for no reason. That's why I made that video, and hopefully, you know, something happened to it and stuff like that. I want to say shout out to Mash once again. He right there. He provided 10 memberships. So 10 of you's got that membership. Please thank him. Hey, Mash, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you very much for giving people the opportunity to be members. You know, spam the smileys and all that stuff. So, hey, please give Mash a round of applause, right? Say, you know how to do it. You know, show that blue face to show love and stuff. Hey, I'm glad you enjoyed the show and stuff. But, hey, I think we covered all the topics. But before I go, SNK, Extreme, is there something you guys want to cover?
I want to talk about the TGS because I didn't get a chance to say anything.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I get worried when the stars are aligning a little bit too neatly. You know, the whole 30 years of PlayStation, the whole PlayStation 5 Pro has been rumored for the longest time. The whole showcase was bad, so they must have something saved anyway. Things are looking a little bit too neat and orderly for me to trust it. It's like the more it looks like it's a It's a foregone conclusion. Yeah. The more worried I get.
The more
does that make sense? Exactly. Like if a person said, "Oh, they're going to come up with a surprise showcase in August," I'll be like, "Yeah, that makes that I believe more than September because it's just too good, you know."
And it's the 30th anniversary of PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly. Too many things lining up. Too many things lining up. You know. So I'm just like, I would like to see the moment happen because it makes sense on paper. But the more it makes sense on paper, the less I trust it to happen. Especially as people start hyping
it's like the specs of the Xbox Series X.
Exactly. I'm telling you,
it's so obvious, but something's gonna go wrong. You know, I look at TGS as two things. I look at TGS as two things. One or two things gonna happen, and these are both extreme. On one extreme, they're gonna announce the Pro, and they're gonna show these games running on the Pro, Ghost of Tsushima, maybe a Sony Band project, whatever. Just like J-Dub said, right? And we're all like, "Holy shit!" And yes, they waited for the Pro. But on the other end, Sony's gonna be like, "Hey, thank you so much. We did great. We're just gonna show you the 30th anniversary PS5, and like it's just the plate."
But
no, but it's the color of the PS1.
Yeah. Right.
And the control and the DualSense just looks like the classic PS1 controller.
The gray one. The gray one.
And yeah, the gray one. The classic gray. Yeah. That's it. And there you go.
Yeah.
One of those two things is gonna happen. That's what's gonna. One of those two things is gonna happen. You're gonna be extremely happy, or you're gonna be extremely disappointed. You're gonna be extremely disappointed.
I do. The thing is,
you heard it here, folks. One of those two things gonna happen. You're gonna be really happy.
I'm an optimist in life, but when it comes to these things, I'm a cynic, man. I am a cynic because I'm just like, listen. You know, the funny thing is, you talk about the PlayStation 1 kind of like makeup do-over thing, yeah?
That's it.
That's what Jim Ryan got. That was his gift. If you remember.
That's what you're gonna get.
His PlayStation 5 got
it first.
Got the PlayStation 1 treatment, yeah.
The other 1,000 is in the warehouse, ready to be unveiled in TGS. That's what they're gonna do. They're just gonna tell the world, "Oh, look, we're gonna launch the PS1 classic looking PS5,
the Jim Ryan edition,
the Jim Ryan edition." And each box will have a signature of Jim Ryan on the. They're gonna replace the 8K
like Phil Spencer
with Jim Ryan.
He's just gonna put.
Yeah, that's it. You're gonna get. That's it. That's gonna be the. That's gonna be the. Oh shit. That's why I think one of two things gonna happen. It's gonna be really great, or boy, people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is this, Sony? Like, why did you even show up?" And that's it. Yo, SNK, you got anything? I know this is your first time, my brother. Oh, he dipped.
He did? Okay.
Yeah, I guess he's playing.
Listen,
he went to Gamepass. You know,
there was someone in the chat last week that was like telling us that we were scared of debating them, and I told him to come on the podcast. And I don't even know who they were
on this channel.
Scared to debate. On this channel.
He clearly
they
clearly don't watch this show.
I mean, the thing is, we have so little people to debate against that we have to debate one another.
They don't even show up. It's like PlayStation's first party. They just outdo each other because there's no one else to outdo in the industry.
That's it.
That's literally it.
So
we welcome that. Wait, we want fresh blood. Come.
There we go.
Come.
I just want to say, if you are listening this week, come next week, okay?
Come.
We can do this.
Hit me up in a DM. Hit me up in a message. You see how fast SNK got? He literally just chatted something in the chat and boom, he's in there. Now he's gone now. I don't know what happened, but anyway, hey, we're gonna do our outros real quick. Extreme.
Yo, guys, listen. The console war just hasn't been fun lately. It just hasn't. It's done. You know, I feel like. Do you know what I feel like? I feel like we are the medic team that comes after the war is over, and we're just picking up the soldiers. But some medics from the other side, they still hate us, so they're still trying to hit. And we're like, hey, listen, I'm just on the medical team. It's over. Like, we're done. The ceasefire was like last week. Like, the soldiers have gone home. Can I just pick up my guy and take him home?
It's the guys who deployed to France in the 1950s.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, after we won the war, now you want to come to France.
Exactly.
Like, when the shops are opened up and everything's normalized. Oh, I got to deploy to France for 7 months. Oh, sucks to be you. All right, hey.
So, listen. We'll see you here, okay? There's no way to send you because there's no content to be made right now. And I don't want to make something just to keep something up. Professor Porterwork is in session. He's putting out great videos all the time. You'll probably see me in the comment section. We'll see you next week. And if you want to debate, come through.
Hit me up
and talk about it.
That's why I leave the DM message. I get some weird shit, but I just delete it. But my message is open for anybody to hit me up and be like, hey, Porterwork, send me the invite to the Discord. You know, I want to take on Extreme. Hey, some of y'all hate Extreme. Some of y'all clearly have issues. Go at them. Like, bro, I don't know. You saw that thing on Twitter, right?
Oh, that clip. Oh, my goodness. PC gamers.
Oh. Yo, they're hurting. Like, we don't even talk about, like, wow. They make it all about
I'm one of you. I have a PC gaming too. Like, come on.
Sorry. You must succumb to the full power of PC. But hey, if you want to go at, Extreme, this is the thing. You know where he's at every Tuesday. You know where he's at. So he ain't ducking nobody. You know where to find him. You just gotta show up. But anyway. This is your only friend, these YouTube Streets, Porterwork77. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Shout out to Tim Dog for stopping by. Gave us a lot of good insights on what happened behind the scenes. And you could tell it was genuine. Because he really felt they were going to do something. And again, I will say, it's one thing to be on the internet talking to people. But when you actually see people face to face, you sit down, have dinners, and you look at them eye to eye, and you tell them you're going to do something and you don't do it, that's a whole different... So I can't really blame Tim Dog on taking another human being's word when they look staring you in the face. I can't be mad at that. It's one thing to listen to Phil on Twitter. It's another thing if he sat down and actually took the time and you guys spent an hour or two just chilling and talking and he's telling you face to face what's gonna happen and it doesn't happen. I'll be like, then you have me out there looking like an idiot. Like, Phil literally told me physically this is happening, so yeah, I'm gonna talk shit. And then after a year he doesn't do it and you're like, why the fuck did you tell me? I would be so goddamn mad. I would be mad too. I would be blowing up. I would do a jihad on the Xbox community. I would just jihad that whole community. Anyway, it's your only friend, these YouTube Streets, Porterwork77. I'm out here. You guys take care. Peace.